Seeing isn't always believing. Have you ever looked at something, truly looked, and felt like your eyes were playing a trick on you? Maybe it was a shadow, or something moving quickly in the distance. We rely so much on what we see, but here's the thing, our eyes don't always give us the full, perfect picture of reality. They gather light, shapes, and colors, but our brain has to make sense of it all. And sometimes, our brain fills in the gaps, or interprets things in ways that aren't exactly what's out there. People have wondered about this for a very long time. Thousands of years ago, thinkers in ancient Greece questioned if what we see is actually the whole truth. They imagined that maybe we're like people watching shadows on a cave wall, believing the shadows are the real world, without realizing there's a much bigger, brighter world outside. This idea reminds us that what our senses tell us isn't always the complete story. Think about a hot summer day when you're riding in a car. Up ahead on the road, it might look like there's a puddle, shimmering and wet, but as you get closer, it disappears. Right, that's called a mirage. Your eyes saw something, and your brain put it together as water, because of how light bends through hot air. But there was no puddle there at all. It was a trick of light and heat, showing you something that wasn't truly real. This simple idea, that seeing isn't always believing, pushes us to think deeper. It makes us pause and consider that our own understanding, even based on something as clear as sight, might not be flawless. It's a quiet invitation to be curious, to gently question what we think we know, and to understand that the world around us holds more hidden layers than we often realize. Your brain's shortcut problem. Have you ever quickly decided something was true, without really thinking it through, like judging a book by its cover? What if our amazing brains, trying to help us, sometimes lead us down a quick path that isn't quite right? This happens a lot. Our brains are always trying to save energy. Thinking takes a lot of power. So, our brains developed mental shortcuts. They help us make fast decisions. Imagine a sudden noise in the woods. Your brain instantly thinks, danger, and you might jump. That's a shortcut. It helps you react fast. Ancient philosophers noticed this long ago. They wondered why people often jump to conclusions, or why we sometimes believe things that aren't true, even when the real facts are different. This was a big puzzle for them. When do our minds' fast ways lead us astray? They saw how easily our minds could be tricked by a quick impression. Here's an example. You meet someone new at school. Maybe they wear clothes that remind you of someone else. Your brain quickly makes up a story about them, whispering, "Oh, they must be like that type of person." But this is a shortcut. You haven't learned who they really are. You've just used a fast, mental label. It's not about being wrong or bad thinkers. It's about understanding this powerful system inside us. Knowing our brain loves shortcuts means we can pause sometimes. We can ask, is this just my brain taking a fast path, or have I truly thought this through? Understanding this helps us think more clearly, building a stronger foundation for our ideas, one careful thought at a time. When feelings trump facts, have you ever felt so strongly about something, maybe an idea or a person, that it was hard to even hear anything that disagreed with you? This happens more often than we think. It's a moment when our emotions, our deep down feelings, take over our ability to see things clearly or accept facts. It's like our heart or gut shouts louder than our brain. We might know something is true, but our feelings tell us something else, and we listen to the feelings instead. This isn't about being wrong. It's about how powerful emotions can be in shaping what we believe. For a very long time, thinkers have wondered about this. Ancient Greek philosophers talked about how our minds have different parts. They imagined it like a charioteer, our logical self, trying to guide two strong horses, one for reason and one for our passions or desires. They believed the charioteer needed to guide these horses well, but sometimes those emotional horses just charge ahead, dragging reason along. It shows that humans have always struggled with balancing what they feel and what they know. Think about a time you really wanted to believe something good about a friend, even when others showed you proof they weren't being truthful. Maybe they promised to do something and didn't, but you kept making excuses because you cared so much. Your feelings of loyalty or affection were so strong, they made it hard to see the simple fact that they broke their promise. It's not that you're dumb. It's just that your feelings had a very strong pull. So, this crack in our thinking is about how our inner world of feelings can sometimes build walls around the truth. It reminds us to pause, to breathe, and to gently ask ourselves, Is what I'm feeling letting me see the whole picture? Or is it coloring everything in a way that hides the facts? Understanding this can help us be more honest with ourselves and the world around us. The lie our memories tell. Have you ever told a story from your past, something you were so sure happened a certain way, only to have a friend or family member say, "Wait, that's not quite right. It happened differently." It can feel really strange, almost like they're messing with you. But here's the thing, our memories aren't perfect video recordings. They are more like stories we tell ourselves, and those stories can change over time. For a long, long time, people thought memory was like a perfectly still pool of water, reflecting everything just as it was. Ancient thinkers imagined our minds were like wax tablets, where experiences were carved in permanently. But modern science has shown us that our brains aren't just storing facts, they are actively rebuilding memories every single time we recall them. Think about it this way. Imagine you're telling a story about the best summer trip ever. Maybe you remember the sun being super bright every day and everyone laughing constantly. But if you watch an old video of that trip, you might see a cloudy day or a moment when someone was actually upset. Your brain, over time, smoothed out the rough edges and highlighted the good parts. It's not trying to trick you, it's just how memories work. Our feelings about an event or new information we learn can actually reshape what we remember. So, if our memories aren't exact copies of the past, what does that mean? It means the story of who we are and what we've been through is always being written. It's not set in stone. This can be a bit unsettling, but it's also kind of beautiful. It means we have a chance to understand that our past is a living thing, always shifting, and it reminds us to be understanding when others remember things differently too. Their story, just like ours, is a work in progress. Why we stick to old ideas. Have you ever stopped to think why we sometimes cling so tightly to the ways things have always been? Why does changing our mind, even about something small, feel so difficult? It's a deep question, and it has a lot to do with how our brains are wired. Here's the thing, our minds love what is familiar. They seek comfort in patterns and routines. When an idea has been around for a long time, or if we've believed it ourselves for many years, it starts to feel safe and true. Our brains actually use less energy sticking to what they already know. Thinking new thoughts or questioning old ones takes effort. It's like building a new path in a forest instead of just walking the one already worn smooth. For centuries, people believed the earth was the center of the universe. It was the accepted wisdom, passed down through generations, even by great thinkers. When astronomers like Copernicus and Galileo suggested the sun was actually the center, it wasn't just a new idea. It shook the very foundation of how people saw their place in the cosmos. It was hard for many to let go of the old idea because it was so deeply woven into their understanding of everything. Think about something simpler, like your favorite way to tie your shoes or a particular route you always take to school. Even if someone shows you a faster, easier way, you might still stick to your old habit. You've done it that way so many times, it feels natural, almost automatic. Your brain prefers that well-worn path, and that's why it matters. Old ideas aren't always wrong, but understanding why we hold on to them can help us be more open. It can help us wonder if there might be another, perhaps better, path to explore. It teaches us patience, both with ourselves and with others, as we all slowly untangle the foundations of our thought. Thinking like the crowd. Have you ever noticed how sometimes, without even trying, your ideas start to sound like everyone else's? Or how easy it is to just go along with what the group thinks? This is called thinking like the crowd. It happens when we let popular opinion or the general feeling of a group shape our own thoughts. We might not even realize we're doing it. It feels safer to agree than to stand out. It's like a quiet pressure that nudges our minds in a certain way. Throughout history, people often thought in very similar ways. In many old communities, following the common belief was expected. Thinking differently could be seen as odd, but some ancient thinkers started asking people to use their own eyes and question what everyone else believed. Think about a simple example from your daily life. Imagine your friends are all excited about a new app or a popular song. Everyone is saying it's amazing. You might not have tried it yet, but you start to feel like it must be true. Then, when you finally do, you might even look for reasons to like it, just to agree, even if, deep down, it's not really your thing. This is how the crowd's thoughts can start to pull on yours. It's a good practice to pause sometimes and just ask yourself, is this really what I think? Or is it what everyone else seems to think? Giving ourselves that space, even for a moment, helps us find our own true thoughts. It's how we build a mind that is truly ours, a mind that stands on its own, strong and clear. The trouble with first impressions: have you ever met someone new and, right away, felt like you knew exactly who they were? Or maybe you saw a book with a dull cover and thought, nah, this isn't for me. Our minds do this all the time. They create instant pictures, instant judgments, based on the very first glimpse. It's like our brain takes a shortcut, trying to save time and energy. It means well, trying to make sense of the world quickly. But here's the problem: those first impressions, those snap judgments, can be very, very wrong. For centuries, smart people, from ancient Greek thinkers to modern scientists, have explored this idea. They noticed how easily we can be fooled by what's on the surface. We see a little bit of something, and our minds fill in the rest, creating a whole story that isn't really there. It's not just about people, either. Think about a video game. Maybe the graphics aren't super fancy, or the opening scene feels a bit slow. Your first impression might be to dismiss it, to decide it's boring before you've even given it a real chance. But what if, hidden behind that plain opening, is an amazing story, deep characters, and truly clever puzzles? If you just stick with that first thought, you'd miss out on something wonderful. This is a crack in how we often think. We let a small piece of information build a whole wall around our minds, blocking out what's really there. We stop being curious. We stop asking questions, and that's why it matters. Giving something, or someone, more than just a fleeting moment to show its truth, can open up completely new worlds. It takes patience. It takes a willingness to look past the surface. But when we do, we often find deeper meaning, unexpected beauty, and connections we would have otherwise completely missed. It reminds us that wisdom often begins with simply waiting and watching, instead of instantly deciding. Why we only see what we want to have. You ever noticed how two different people can look at the exact same situation, or hear the same story, and come away with completely different ideas about what happened? It's almost like they were in two separate places. Well, there's a deep reason for that, and it lives inside each of our minds. Our brains are incredible filtering machines. They don't just soak up every single piece of information our eyes and ears send them. That would be too much. Instead, our minds are constantly sifting through everything, looking for patterns, things they recognize, or information that fits what we already believe to be true. It's like our brain has a special job to make sense of the endless flow of things happening around us, and to do it quickly. One big way it does this is by shining a spotlight only on what seems important or familiar to us. Ancient thinkers, people who lived thousands of years ago, noticed this powerful trick of the mind. They understood that what we expect to find, or what we strongly want to believe, often shapes what we actually see. It's like our minds have a personal highlight reel going on, playing only the clips that fit our current story. Think about it like this. Maybe you just got a new pair of bright red sneakers that you absolutely love. Suddenly, everywhere you go, you start seeing other people wearing red sneakers. Or perhaps your favorite band releases a new song, and now you hear it playing in every store, on every radio station. Were those red sneakers and that song not there before? Of course, they were. But your brain wasn't focused on them. Your mind only began to truly see them once they became important and familiar to you. This powerful habit of our mind means that our own beliefs, our past experiences, and even our feelings can act like invisible lenses. We look out at the world, and we truly see what we expect to see, what we are ready to see. It can make us feel very sure about our own views. But here's what's deep about it. It also means we might be missing a lot. We might be ignoring things that don't fit our current picture. Understanding this helps us be a bit more open to other people's views, or even to seeing our own blind spots. It asks us to sometimes pause and quietly wonder, what if there's more here than I'm letting myself see? It's a journey into realizing how truly amazing, and sometimes tricky, our own minds are. Being right, even when you're wrong. Have you ever been completely sure about something, only to find out later that you were mistaken? Even then, was it hard to admit it? That feeling, that sticky hold on an idea, even when new facts show it's wrong, that's a crack in the foundation of how we think. Our brains are amazing, but they love to keep things consistent. Once we decide something is true, our minds work hard to protect that idea. It's like our thoughts build a little fortress around what we believe. New information that doesn't fit, our brains sometimes just push it away. For a long time, people knew the earth was flat. It just made sense to them. The ground looked flat. Then, thinkers like Pythagoras and later scientists showed the earth was a sphere. Even with maps and ships sailing around the world, some found it hard to believe. Their minds had already decided. It took a lot for that old idea to finally shift. Here's the thing, this isn't about being stubborn on purpose. It's how our minds try to make sense of the world. Think about your favorite sports team. You might believe they're the best, even when they have a bad season. You might remember all their wins and forget the losses. Or, if someone tells you a rumor about a new student, you might form an opinion. Then, even if you see that student being kind, it can be hard to fully shake that first thought. Your brain wants to stick to its first impression. Understanding this about ourselves is powerful. It teaches us to pause. It makes us wonder, am I holding on to this idea because it's true, or because it feels comfortable? It helps us remember that changing our mind isn't a weakness. It's a sign of a strong, open mind. It means you're willing to grow. And that's why it matters to be curious about how our own thoughts work. The power of a good story. Have you ever noticed how some things just stick with you, while others seem to vanish from your mind the moment you hear them? Like a dry list of facts, compared to a really gripping movie or a book you can't put down. Why do stories feel so much more powerful than just plain information? Stories are how we make sense of everything. They are the oldest way humans have found to learn, to understand, and to pass on wisdom. Before books were even invented, people sat around fires, telling tales of heroes, warnings, and how the world came to be. These weren't just for fun. They were the textbooks, the science lessons, the moral guides, all wrapped up in a narrative. Ancient myths, fables, and legends weren't simple entertainment. They taught complex ideas about right and wrong, about the changing seasons, about the stars, and about human nature itself. They did this in a way that facts alone never could. They were the glue that held societies together, sharing common beliefs and knowledge. Think about how you learn history. You could try to memorize a long list of dates and names from a textbook, or you could hear the story of a young person who stood up for what they believed in, or how a huge discovery changed everything for people living in a certain time. Which one do you think you'd remember more clearly and understand better? The story, right? Our brains are just wired for narrative. When you hear a story, your mind doesn't just process words. It starts to build connections, to imagine scenes, and even to feel emotions. This helps you remember the information, but it also helps you understand why it matters. A good story turns a difficult concept into something you can see, feel, and connect with personally. It gives meaning to raw information. That's why stories are so much more than just simple tales. They are how we share our deepest thoughts, our fears, and our hopes across generations. They are how we teach, how we inspire, and how we can even change minds. A well-told story has the power to shape beliefs, to build empathy for others, and to move people to act. So next time you hear a story, remember it's more than just words. It's a powerful tool, a vessel carrying understanding from one mind to another, across time and space. When a sale isn't really a sale, have you ever walked into a store and seen a huge sale sign, feeling that rush of excitement? We think we're getting something special, a true bargain. But here's the thing, sometimes what looks like a sale isn't really a sale at all. It's a kind of crack in how we understand value. It's not about the money saved, but about how our minds are led to believe we're saving. Imagine a store marking up a regular price just before putting it on sale. They didn't lower the price from what it was. They just lowered it from a fake, higher price they created. This idea of true value versus perceived value is ancient. Even old Greek thinkers wondered about it. They knew that people could be swayed, that what seems obvious might hide a deeper truth. Think about how a magician makes a coin vanish. You see it disappear, but your mind knows it must still be there, just hidden. It's a trick of attention, making you focus on the wrong thing. It's a similar move in daily life, like that online game offering a special character for a huge discount. But you later find out everyone gets that deal, or the original price was never real in the first place. It feels like a win, but it's just carefully arranged. Your feelings tell you it's a great deal, but your critical thinking might tell you otherwise if you pause to look. So, when you see that sale sign, maybe pause. Ask yourself, is this truly a markdown, or is my mind being gently guided? Understanding this helps us see beyond the surface of things, not just in shopping, but in so many parts of life. It's about looking for the real truth, not just the easy answer. It's about knowing what you truly value, not what someone else wants you to think you value. The problem with quick judgments: have you ever met someone new and decided right away what they were like? It happens all the time, doesn't it? We see something, hear a few words, and poof, we've made up our minds. These are quick judgments, snap decisions based on very little information. Our brains are amazing at this. They want to make sense of the world fast, and sometimes that means taking shortcuts. Think about early humans. If a shadow moved in the bushes, judging it quickly as a threat saved lives. Our brains learned to be super fast at spotting danger. That quick thinking ability helped us survive for thousands of years. But today, most of our dangers aren't saber-toothed tigers. Instead, that same speedy brain can make us jump to conclusions about people, ideas, or situations without really looking. Here's the thing. Imagine you see a classmate trip in the hallway and drop all their books. Your first thought might be, wow, they're clumsy. But maybe they were rushing to help someone, or perhaps they had a dizzy spell. The quick judgment labels them, but the full story is always more complex. It's like looking at a small piece of a puzzle and thinking you know what the whole picture is. You might see a blue square and decide it's the sky, but it could be the ocean, or even part of a blue bird, and that's why it matters. When we judge too quickly, we might miss something important. We might miss a new friend, a great idea, or the chance to understand the world a little better. It takes courage to pause, to breathe, and to let a situation unfold before deciding what it means. Because the truth is, most things are far more layered than our first thought suggests. So, try to remember, the first idea isn't always the deepest or the truest. Believing someone just because they're famous. Have you ever stopped to think about why we sometimes believe what famous people say, even when they're talking about things outside their main job? Here's the thing. Just because someone is, well, maybe a movie star, a musician, or a sports hero, doesn't mean their words carry extra truth or wisdom. This idea that fame equals knowledge can be a real crack in how we think. For a long time, people have looked up to those in powerful or well-known positions. Think about ancient kings or wise elders in a village. Their words were often taken as fact, simply because of who they were. It was less about what they actually said and more about their status. In our modern world, fame has taken over some of that old power. Celebrities feel like authorities on everything, from what kind of shampoo to use, to how to vote, or even what medical advice to follow. But here's the problem. Imagine a basketball player telling you which brand of microscope is the best for a science lab, or a pop singer explaining how a complex engine works. They might be amazing at basketball or singing, but those skills don't make them experts in science, equipment, or engineering. Their fame gives them a big platform, a loud voice, but it doesn't automatically give them special knowledge in every single area of life. People listen because they recognize the face, not because the message itself is proven or logical. So, when you hear a famous person sharing their thoughts on something, especially if it's outside their usual field, pause and ask yourself, do they really know about this, or am I just listening because they're famous? It's not about ignoring them, but about thinking for yourself. It's about valuing the idea, the fact, or the logic, more than just who said it. This way, you build your own strong foundation for understanding the world, one thought at a time. The way we talk can trick us. Have you ever thought how the very words we use might quietly trick our minds? It's easy to believe language is just a clear window to the world. But here's the thing. Words are more like a filter, shaping what we see. Sometimes, the way we string sounds together can build little walls around our thoughts, or lead us down paths that aren't quite real. Thinkers, going back thousands of years, wondered about this problem. They realized just having a word for something doesn't mean it truly exists in the way we imagine. For example, we say time flies. This makes time sound like a physical thing, like a bird with wings, but time doesn't actually fly. It's a concept we made words for, and those words make it feel more solid than it is. Here's an everyday example. We often hear someone say, "That's just common sense." This phrase makes certain ideas sound obvious and shared by everyone, like a basic rule. But what seems common sense to one person might not be common at all to another. Someone from a city, another from a small town, their common sense might be very different. The words make us think there's a universal truth, but often it's just a belief within a group. It can even stop us from asking questions. So, here's what happens. Language itself, without us noticing, can give a kind of false weight to ideas. It can make vague concepts feel solid, or make differences seem smaller. Spotting these quiet tricks can help us think more clearly. It invites us to pause, to look beyond the words, and wonder if what we're hearing truly matches what's real. This isn't about being suspicious, it's about being curious, always missing what's right in front of you. Have you ever searched everywhere for your keys, only to find them in your hand? Or looked for your phone, and it was on your desk the whole time? It's a funny, frustrating moment, but it points to a deep crack in how we think and how we see. Here's the thing. Our brains are amazing at focusing. They help us pay attention to what feels important, but sometimes that focus comes with a cost. Our minds get so fixed on one thing they filter out everything else, even things big and obvious, right there. It's like our thoughts create a blind spot, hiding plain truth. Think about a famous psychology experiment. People watched a video of students passing a basketball. Their job, count the passes. While they counted, a person in a gorilla suit walked into the middle, beat their chest, then walked off. More than half the people watching did not see the gorilla. They were so focused, their brains didn't register the ape. This isn't just a trick. It tells us something real about how our minds work. For centuries, thinkers wondered about this. They asked, do we truly see the world, or just what our minds decide to show us? They knew our perception isn't always a perfect window. Our attention builds our reality. So, people missed a gorilla trying to find basketball passes. In our daily lives, what are we missing? Maybe it's the quiet kindness of a friend, the perfect shape of a cloud, or a simple solution to a big problem. When we slow down, truly opening our minds to more than what we seek, we might discover a richer, more surprising world. We might start seeing all the things that were there all along. Thinking you know more than you do. Have you ever learned a little bit about something and suddenly felt like you knew everything? Maybe you read one article about space and felt like an expert. Or you played a new video game for an hour and thought you'd mastered it. Here's the thing. Our minds can play a trick on us. When we learn just a little, we can feel very confident. It's like standing on a tiny hill and thinking you're on top of the tallest mountain. You can see a little bit around you, and it feels like a lot. But here's the problem. The more you truly learn, the more you realize how much you don't know. This idea isn't new. Thousands of years ago, a wise Greek thinker named Socrates knew this. He said something famous, "I know that I know nothing." That doesn't mean he was dumb. He meant true wisdom starts with knowing how much you don't know. He found that people who knew the least were often the most sure of themselves. And the truly wise people, they knew there was always more to discover. Think about learning a musical instrument, like guitar. At first, you might learn a few simple chords. You play a basic song, and you feel amazing. You might even think, wow, I'm a guitarist. But then you try to learn a more complex song, or you watch someone who has played for years. You see their skill, their speed, the many things you never even knew existed. Suddenly, that little hill you are standing on feels very small. You realize how much more there is to learn, and that feeling of knowing everything quickly fades away. It's not a bad thing to feel this. It's actually a sign of growing. Realizing you don't know everything isn't a weakness. It's a doorway to deeper understanding. It reminds us to stay curious, to ask questions, and to be open to new ideas. It teaches us to be humble in our thoughts. And that's a powerful way to truly learn and grow. The danger of common sense. Have you ever stopped to wonder if what everyone just knows is actually true? Common sense feels like a safe guide. It's the ideas that seem obvious, the things most people agree on without needing proof. But here's the thing. Common sense can be one of the biggest traps for our minds. For a long time, common sense told people the earth was flat. Sailors worried they'd fall off the edge of the world. And it seemed to make sense, right? Look around, it looks flat. People also commonly believed the sun revolved around the earth. That was the obvious view for thousands of years. But great thinkers, using observation and math, showed us these ideas were wrong. The earth is a sphere, and we orbit the sun. This changed everything. Think about something simple. If you drop a heavy brick and a light feather at the same time, which one hits the ground first? Most common sense says the brick. Right, it's heavier. But the scientist Galileo famously showed this isn't true. If you take away air resistance, they fall at the exact same speed. Common sense was wrong. This isn't just about science though. It's about how we think about people, about society, about ourselves. If we just accept what everyone knows without questioning it, we might miss out on deeper truths. We might hold on to old ideas that hurt others or limit our own understanding. So, the real danger of common sense is that it makes us stop thinking. It makes us comfortable with easy answers instead of searching for the true ones. It asks us to just accept rather than explore. And that's why it matters to gently push against these everyday thoughts, to look deeper. Why we blame others so easily. Have you ever wondered why, when something goes wrong, our first thought is often to point the finger somewhere else? It's a very human thing to do. We trip, and the sidewalk is uneven. Our project fails, and someone else didn't do their part. It's almost automatic, isn't it? Here's the thing. Our brains are always trying to protect us. If someone else is at fault, then we don't have to feel bad. We don't have to admit we made a mistake or that we might need to learn something new. It's a way for our minds to stay comfortable and safe. Think about it like this. For a long time, people have been trying to understand why bad things happen. Ancient thinkers, way back in history, would talk about what was inside us versus what was outside. They noticed how quickly humans would look for outside reasons for their troubles. If a harvest failed, people might blame the angry gods or bad luck, instead of thinking about the seeds or the soil. It's like our minds are wired for this kind of quick explanation, especially when it protects our own feelings. Imagine you're playing a video game and you lose a level. Is your first thought always, "Wow, I messed up"? Or is it sometimes, "That controller is sticky," or "the game glitched"? See, it's much easier to blame the controller. But deep down, we know that real reason is often closer to home. So, this quick blaming, it might give us a little comfort for a moment. But true strength, the kind that helps us grow, comes from looking within. It means asking, what was my part in this, or what can I learn? That quiet question, instead of a loud blame, is where real understanding begins. It's a way to become truly thoughtful. Our brain's favorite superstitions. Have you ever wondered why we sometimes cling to ideas that don't quite make sense? Like believing a certain shirt brings good luck, or avoiding cracks in the sidewalk. It's easy to just call these superstitions. But here's the thing, they show us something deep about how our brains work. Our minds are amazing at finding patterns. They are built to connect dots, to see cause and effect. It's how we learn. If we touch a hot stove and it burns, our brain quickly learns, "Don't touch hot stoves." This is super useful. But sometimes, our brains get a little too good at this pattern finding. They connect dots that aren't actually connected. Or they make up reasons for things that are just random. Think about people long ago. They lived in a world full of big mysteries. Why did the sun rise? Why did the rain fall? When something good happened after they did a certain dance, their brains might have said, "Aha, the dance caused the rain," even if it didn't. Over time, these ideas, these rules, became traditions. They gave people comfort, a sense of control over a world they barely understood. This human tendency to find meaning, even false meaning, is really old. So, this still happens today. Maybe a football player always wears his old worn-out cleats. He had his best game ever in them once. Now, he thinks they're lucky, but the cleats didn't make him play well. His skill and practice did. His brain just linked the good outcome to the cleats because they were there. It's like when two things happen at the same time, and our minds assume one caused the other, even if there's no real connection. This is called a false correlation, and that's why it matters. Our brains, in their effort to make sense of everything, sometimes trick us. They create these shortcuts, these favorite superstitions, which aren't about magic, but about finding order where there might only be chance. Knowing this helps us be more thoughtful. It teaches us to pause and ask, is this connection real, or is my brain just trying to build a simple story? This kind of quiet questioning helps us see the world more clearly and build our understanding on a truer foundation. The loophole in logic. Have you ever wondered if even the clearest thoughts, those that seem perfectly logical, might have a hidden catch? We trust logic to show us what's true. It's like a map for our minds. But what if the map itself has a tiny tear? That's a loophole in logic. It's not about making a mistake. It's about finding a place where logic, despite its power, can't quite make sense of something. It gets stuck, or points to what seems impossible. Think about the mathematician, Kurt Gödel. He showed something amazing about math. He proved that even in a complete system of numbers and rules, there will always be truths you can't prove inside that very system. It's like trying to describe every star in the universe using only words from Earth. Some things just can't be fully known from inside their own walls. This idea goes beyond math, into how we think. Here's a simple puzzle to show you what I mean. Imagine a piece of paper with just one sentence written on it. This sentence is false. Now, think about it. If that sentence is true, then what it says must be true, so it's false. But if it's false, then what it says isn't true, meaning it's actually true. See, our minds spin in a circle. Logic can't decide if it's true or false. It's a statement that breaks its own rules. So, here's the thing. This doesn't mean logic is broken or useless. Logic is powerful and helps us understand a lot. But finding these loopholes, these strange corners of thought, reminds us that our minds and their tools have limits. The world, and our own inner thoughts, hold mysteries logic might never fully grasp, and that's okay. It's actually amazing. It means there's always more to wonder about, more to explore beyond what we can neatly explain. These loopholes are not failures. They are quiet invitations to a deeper curiosity, showing us the vastness of what we don't yet know. Noticing only the loud stuff. Have you ever wondered why we tend to notice some things much more than others? Like when you're in a busy cafeteria, you probably hear the loud laughter or the clatter of dropped trays. But do you notice the quiet hum of the air conditioning or the gentle whispers at a table near you? Here's the thing. Our brains are built to pay attention to what's most obvious or urgent. We call this noticing only the loud stuff. It's like our minds have a powerful spotlight, and they naturally point it at whatever is brightest or makes the most noise. This way of thinking isn't new. It's deeply wired into us. For a long time, focusing on the loud and clear was a matter of survival. Think about early humans. They paid attention to the sudden roar of a wild animal, not the soft rustle of leaves that might mean nothing. This helped them stay safe. Even in philosophy, for many centuries, people mostly focused on things they could easily see and touch. It was hard for them to even imagine things that were too small to see, like bacteria, or too far away to sense, like distant galaxies. They didn't have the tools or the ways of thinking to look beyond the immediate and obvious. Here's a way to think about it in your daily life. Imagine a big school project due soon. You might feel the huge stress of the deadline. That's the loud part. But what about the quiet, steady work you did each day leading up to it? The small steps you took, the little bits of research. Those are less loud in your mind, but they are just as important, sometimes more so. Or in science, we often hear about dramatic discoveries, big explosions in space, or new cures for diseases. These are amazing, but science also involves years of quiet, patient experiments, tiny adjustments, and subtle observations that don't make headlines. This crack in our thinking means we sometimes miss important parts of reality. We might overlook the quiet problems that grow slowly, or the gentle solutions that don't make headlines. So, maybe it's worth asking ourselves, what quiet, important things are we letting slip by? What faint whispers should we be listening for, even if they don't demand our attention? It's a reminder that true understanding often hides in the subtle, not just the spectacular. The problem with perfect plans. Have you ever planned something out perfectly in your mind, like you thought of every single step, every tiny detail, every possible outcome? We often try to make flawless plans. We map out our days, our projects, even our futures. We hope that if we think of everything, nothing can go wrong. It feels safe, right? We imagine a path without any bumps, a smooth journey to exactly where we want to be. But here's the thing. Real life rarely follows a perfect script. Think about the builders of ancient pyramids, or the great explorers charting unknown seas. They had detailed plans, for sure. But even with all their knowledge and preparation, the weather changed unexpectedly. Rocks weren't exactly where they thought they'd be. People got sick. The world, in its vastness, always threw something unexpected their way. Philosophers have long talked about this idea. The ancient Greek Stoics, for example, believed that, while we can plan, we must also accept that much of life is simply outside our control. The universe, you could say, has its own unique plans that often surprise us. Imagine you're organizing a big group project for school. You assign tasks, set deadlines, and create a beautiful presentation outline. It's perfect in your head. But then, one person gets sick. Another's computer crashes the night before it's due. The library is closed when you needed to use it. Suddenly, your perfect plan needs to bend and twist. It might even break apart a little, and that's totally okay. These moments, when our careful plans go sideways, are not really failures. They are often our greatest teachers. They show us that the world is alive, constantly changing, and full of quiet surprises. Maybe true wisdom isn't about making a plan that can't be broken, but about learning to dance when the music suddenly changes. It's about finding strength and new paths when the one you drew disappears. And that, in its own way, can be a deeper kind of beautiful. Why we procrastinate on good ideas. Have you ever had a truly great idea? Something that made your mind sparkle, like planning an amazing project or starting a cool new hobby. And then, for some reason, you just never started it. It's a strange thing, isn't it? We often think we procrastinate on things we don't want to do, like chores or homework. But here's the thing, we often put off our best ideas, the ones that could bring us joy or pride. So, why does this happen? Maybe it's because good ideas feel important. They carry a certain weight. We might worry about messing them up or not doing them perfectly. Our minds can get overwhelmed by the thought of all the steps, all the challenges, and the pressure of the idea being so good. This fear of not being perfect, or the sheer size of the imagined task, can stop us before we even begin. Ancient thinkers, like the Greek philosopher Aristotle, noticed something similar thousands of years ago. They talked about akrasia, which is a fancy word for a weakness of will. It means knowing what's good for you, knowing what you should do, but still not doing it. It's like when you know eating a healthy meal is better, but you choose ice cream instead. For good ideas, it's knowing writing that amazing story would be incredible, but you find yourself just scrolling through your phone instead. Think about wanting to build a super complex Lego castle from scratch. You have this fantastic image in your head, maybe even a detailed plan, but then you look at the huge box, all those tiny pieces, and the picture of the finished castle looks so perfect, you might suddenly feel overwhelmed. So, you just leave the box in the corner, telling yourself you'll start tomorrow. The idea is wonderful, but the imagined difficulty, or the pressure to make it perfect, stops you. This isn't really a flaw in us. It's just how our minds sometimes work. Our brains sometimes try to protect us from big, scary efforts, even if those efforts lead to something great. The lesson here might be that even the best ideas need small, imperfect beginnings. The first step doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to be a step. And sometimes, just understanding why we delay helps us take that very first, gentle step. The trick of believing what's newest. Have you ever wondered why the newest thing always seems so much better? Like the very latest phone model, or the most recent scientific discovery. There's this quiet trick our minds play on us. We often think that if something is new, it must be improved, or smarter, or even more true. But here's the thing, new doesn't always mean right. For thousands of years, people mostly learned from what was passed down. Stories, traditions, and wisdom from elders were really important. Then, as science grew, new discoveries started to challenge old beliefs. For example, people once believed the sun went around the earth. That was the old idea. Then, new observations and calculations showed the earth goes around the sun. That new idea was true, but not every new idea is like that. Sometimes, old ideas actually hold deep truths that new ones miss. Think about the latest fashion trend. One day, everyone wears one style, and the next, something totally different is in. The old style isn't suddenly bad or ugly, it's just ... old. Or consider a new piece of information you hear online. Maybe it's a wild theory about something. Because it's fresh and maybe even shocking, our brains might give it more attention, or even believe it faster than an older, more proven fact. It's shiny, so we are drawn to it. The real challenge is to look at any idea, whether it's super old or super new, with the same clear eyes. We have to ask, is this true because it's new, or is it true because there's good proof? Letting ourselves be easily swayed by the latest headline or trend can be a crack in how we understand the world. Sometimes, the oldest wisdom is the steadiest ground. Your mind's echo chamber. Have you ever noticed how your own thoughts can sometimes just bounce around inside your head, getting louder and louder? It's like being in a cave where your voice comes right back to you. This idea is called an echo chamber, but it's not a real room. It's a way we think, or rather, a trap our minds can fall into. Think about it like this. Your brain likes to be comfortable. It likes ideas that already fit what you believe. So, when you find information or opinions that match your own, your brain feels good. It says, yes, see, I was right. And then you tend to seek out more of those same ideas, and less of the different ones. Over time, you hear your own beliefs echoed back to you, often from friends, family, or the social media you follow. This makes it hard to see other points of view. Long ago, thinkers like the ancient Greeks wondered about how people form their beliefs. They saw how groups of people could get stuck on one idea, even if it wasn't the whole truth. It's not a new problem, it's part of human nature, this desire for our ideas to be supported. Here's an example. Imagine you really love a certain type of music, like K-pop. You follow K-pop fan accounts online, your friends also love K-pop, and you only listen to K-pop playlists every day. You see posts and hear conversations praising K-pop. You might start to believe it's the only good music out there, or that anyone who doesn't like it just doesn't get it. Your world becomes a K-pop echo chamber. You're hearing the same message over and over, reinforcing your existing view. But here's the thing. While it feels safe, an echo chamber can also limit us. It can make us miss out on new ideas, or on understanding why others think differently. To truly grow, we sometimes need to step outside that comfortable space, even if it feels a little strange at first. It means listening to different voices, and being open to thoughts that might challenge our own. Our minds are vast, and they deserve to explore beyond just what they already know. When numbers don't add up but feel like they do, have you ever looked at numbers and felt in your gut they were right, even if the logic wasn't quite there? It's a strange feeling, and it happens more often than you think. Our minds are built to find patterns, to connect dots, even when those dots aren't truly connected. Our ancient ancestors survived by noticing patterns. Is that rustling a predator? Is this berry safe? This quick thinking helped them survive. But today, with so much information, this same skill can trick us. We see connections between numbers or events purely by chance. All thinkers wondered about what was really true versus what just seemed true. They knew our feelings could fool us. Here's a common example. Some people believe strange things happen during a full moon. They might say, the hospital is always busier, people act crazier. It feels true because they remember wild times on a full moon. But if you check hospital records, day by day, there's no real pattern. The numbers don't show more crazy events than what happens is, when something weird occurs on a full moon, we remember it clearly. We forget all the other full moons where nothing special happened, and all the crazy things that happen on other nights. Our brains pick out evidence that fits our belief, ignoring the rest. This is why it matters. Our feelings can make numbers seem to align, even when facts disagree. It teaches us to pause and ask, am I seeing what's truly there, or just what I want to see? True strength means checking the actual numbers, even if it challenges a comforting feeling. The fear of missing out on thinking. Have you ever felt that little twitch inside, worried you're missing something important? Maybe your friends are talking about a new game, or an event you weren't invited to. That's a common feeling, right? But here's the thing. Sometimes we feel that same worry, that same fear of missing out, not on an experience, but on a thought. It's this quiet feeling that big, important ideas are out there, and if we don't find them, we'll be left behind. It's the worry that a new way of seeing the world, a new piece of knowledge, or a different way of understanding something important might pass us by. Think about it. For a long time, people believed the sun went around the earth. That was the accepted truth. Then, scientists like Copernicus and Galileo came along. They had new thoughts, new observations, and those who clung to old ideas didn't just miss facts, they missed a new understanding of the universe. It must have felt like the ground shifted. This isn't about being smart enough, it's about being open enough. Imagine you're scrolling through social media, seeing all these different opinions and theories, especially about something big like climate change or even just a new movie. You might feel a pressure to know every argument, every side, worried you'll seem uninformed if you don't. This can make us jump from idea to idea, without truly stopping to think deeply about any one of them. We might just collect headlines instead of understanding the real story, and that's why it matters. This fear can make us too quick to agree, or too quick to dismiss. We might not take time to really chew on an idea, just because we're already worried about the next big thought we might miss. But real understanding often comes from slowing down. It comes from letting ideas sit, letting them grow, even if it means missing out on the instant buzz of a brand new opinion. Maybe the deepest thoughts are the ones we find when we stop chasing every new idea and simply let our minds be still for a moment. How our mood changes everything. Have you ever noticed how the world looks different on a good day versus a bad day? It's strange, isn't it? The sky is still blue, your friends are still your friends, but everything just shifts. Here's the thing. Our mood isn't just a feeling that washes over us. It's like a filter, placed right over our eyes and minds, quietly changing how we see and understand everything around us. Think about it. When you're happy, a small mistake might seem like no big deal. You brush it off, learn from it, and move on. But if you're feeling down, that same small mistake can feel huge, like a mountain. It can make you doubt yourself. Ancient thinkers, like the Greek philosophers, understood this. They talked about how our passions, our strong emotions, could cloud judgment. They believed that to think clearly, you needed to master your feelings, because emotions could easily trick the mind. And it's still true. Imagine you're solving a tricky math problem. If you feel frustrated or anxious, your brain might feel foggy. You might overlook simple steps or give up too quickly. But if you approach the problem feeling calm and curious, your mind is open. You see connections, try different paths, and might even enjoy the challenge. It's not that the problem changed. It's that your mood changed, how your brain worked on it. Scientists today even study how our brain chemistry shifts with different emotions, affecting memory and decisions. So, our mood isn't just a reaction. It's an active part of how we think. It shapes our perceptions, colors our memories, and whispers advice into our decisions. Understanding this helps us see that sometimes the crack in our understanding isn't in the world itself, but in the emotional lens through which we view it. Being aware of our feelings is the first step to truly clear thinking, offering a quieter, truer way to see the path ahead. The illusion of control. Have you ever felt completely in charge of something, only for it to go totally differently than you planned? It's a strange feeling, isn't it? This is about something called the illusion of control. It's the belief that we have more power over events than we actually do. Our brains are wired to want to predict things, to make sense of the world around us. We like to think if we just try hard enough, or plan enough, we can control every outcome. We feel safer when we believe we're in charge. For centuries, thinkers have wondered about this idea. Are we truly free to choose everything? Or are some things just ... destined? The old philosophers wrestled with ideas of fate and free will. They asked, how much of life is really up to us, and how much is just the way things are? They explored the limits of our power. Think about this. You study really hard for a big test. You know every answer. You feel ready. But on test day, you wake up sick, or the fire alarm goes off mid-test, or the questions are completely different from what you expected. You prepared perfectly, but outside factors, things you couldn't control, changed everything. You might feel frustrated, like your hard work was wasted, but the truth is, your control was limited to your effort, not every possible outcome. Here's the thing, it's not about giving up or saying nothing matters. It's about understanding where our real power lies. We can control our actions, our efforts, and how we respond to what happens. We can't always control what happens to us, and that's okay. Accepting this can actually make us feel less worried, less stressed. It helps us focus on what truly matters, our own choices and attitudes, even when the world spins in ways we never expected. Judging a book by its cover, and people too. Have you ever heard the saying, don't judge a book by its cover? It's a simple phrase, but it holds a deep truth about how we often think. This isn't just about actual books, it's about how we look at everything, from a new movie to a person we just met. We see something on the outside, and our minds quickly decide what it is, before we've truly known it. Think about walking into a library. You might pick a book with a cool cover, right? You might skip one with a plain cover. But here's the thing, That plain book might have the most amazing story inside. The cover is just a design. It doesn't tell you anything about the words on the pages. For a long time, even ancient thinkers wondered how easily our eyes can trick our minds. They knew what we see first isn't always the whole truth. It's like a quick mental shortcut. We meet someone new, maybe they dress differently or talk quietly, and our brains try to fit them into a box. We make assumptions without even realizing it. But here's the problem. People, like books, are much deeper than their surface. Consider a time you've gotten to know someone you first thought was one way, but they turned out to be completely different. Maybe they seemed shy, but then you found out they were super funny. Or perhaps they looked serious, but had a really kind heart. That first impression, that cover, was just a small piece of who they truly were. So, this idea, not judging a book by its cover, is really about being open. It asks us to slow down, to look past the first glance, and to search for the real story. When we do, we often find something far more interesting and beautiful than we ever expected. And that's a powerful way to think about the world. The brain's energy saver mode. Our brains are amazing, aren't they? But have you ever stopped to think about how much energy your brain actually uses? Here's the thing. Your brain is always trying to be efficient. It's like it has an energy save mode built right in, just like your phone. It doesn't want to use more power than it needs to. So, instead of thinking deeply about every single thing, it often takes mental shortcuts. These shortcuts are like automatic programs running in the background, making decisions or guesses without you even realizing it. Long ago, thinkers wondered about how we make choices. Some believed we were always logical, carefully weighing every idea. But others noticed that we often just react, almost on autopilot. Imagine our ancestors needing to make quick choices about danger without thinking too hard. This quick response saved energy and time, which was crucial for survival. This ancient need for speed and efficiency shaped the brains we have today. It's a system designed to keep us going, even when we're not fully focused. Here's an example. Think about riding a bike. When you first learned, it took all your focus, right? Every pedal, every turn, every wobble, that was your brain in full power mode, burning lots of energy. But now, you can probably ride a bike and talk to a friend, or listen to music, without even thinking about how to balance or steer. Your brain put that whole skill into energy saver mode. It became a habit, an automatic process that barely needs your conscious attention. This energy saving mode is truly powerful. It helps us get through our day without feeling totally drained. But it also means that sometimes we act or think without truly examining why we're doing it. We might form opinions or make small choices based on these quick shortcuts, not deep thought. The trick isn't to fight this natural process. It's to simply know it's there. To sometimes pause and gently ask ourselves, am I on autopilot right now? Or am I truly choosing to think deeply about this? Recognizing this hidden system can make us more aware of our own thoughts, giving us a quieter, deeper understanding of how we move through the world. Why we overthink. Simple stuff. Have you ever found yourself stuck on something super small, like choosing a snack or picking the right picture to post online? Suddenly, a simple choice feels huge, taking up too much space in your head. Why do our minds get so tangled up in easy stuff? Here's the thing. Our brains are incredibly powerful. For thousands of years, our ancestors survived by being super careful. If they heard a strange noise, their brains went into overdrive. They had to figure out if it was a friend, food, or danger. Overthinking was a survival skill. It meant looking at every detail, considering every possible outcome, just to stay safe. Even ancient Greek thinkers like the Stoics noticed how often our own thoughts could trap us. They knew the mind left unchecked could easily tie itself in knots. Think about deciding what to wear to school. Seems basic, right? But your brain might ask, what if it's too hot? What if my friends don't like it? Does this shirt make me look weird? Your mind tries to predict every possible future. These futures are just small worries, not actual dangers. It's like a super smart detective who won't quit until every clue is examined, even if there's no mystery. This can help you understand why we spend so much energy on things that don't need it. Our brains are designed to find problems. Sometimes, they create problems when none exist, just because they're always on, and that's why it matters. It reminds us that our minds are constantly working. Often, they are trying to protect us, even from a simple choice. Knowing this brings a quiet sense of understanding. Getting caught in overthinking isn't a sign of weaknesses, it's just a quirk of how our brilliant brains are wired. We can learn to notice it and gently guide our thoughts back to the calm, simple truth. The crutch of past experiences. Have you ever stopped to think about how much your past controls your present thoughts? We often rely on what we already know, on what we've been through, to make sense of new situations. Our experiences teach us, but sometimes these past lessons become like a crutch. We lean on them so heavily that new ways or paths seem impossible. Here's the thing, our brains are designed to learn from experience. Touching a hot stove once tells you not to do it again. That's smart. But what if that same caution stops you from ever trying to bake a cake just because you once burned cookies? That's when the crutch starts to limit you. For a long time, thinkers have wondered about this. Ancient Greek philosophers like Plato explored how our minds might be clouded by what we think we know, questioning if we truly see things as they are, or if our history always shapes our view. In science, bias is a big deal. Scientists try hard to design experiments not influenced by what they hope to find. Knowing past beliefs can get in the way. Consider a student who once struggled with public speaking. Maybe their voice trembled, or they forgot their lines. Now, every time they have to give a presentation, that old memory rushes back. Their past failure becomes a crutch, making them nervous and unsure, even after much practice. They might assume failure, not giving themselves a real chance. So here's what happens. We often apply old feelings and judgments, instead of seeing each moment fresh. It's a quiet challenge, knowing when our past helps, and when it holds us back. Putting down that crutch, even for a moment, lets new moments unfold with fresh eyes. It helps us grow and understand the world, and ourselves, better. Not seeing the big picture. Have you ever worked on a big puzzle, maybe with 1,000 pieces, and you get really focused on finding one tiny edge piece, or connecting just to similar colors? Here's the thing, sometimes, when we're focused on those tiny pieces, we forget to step back and look at the picture on the box. That's a little like not seeing the big picture. It's when we get so caught up in the small details, the little bits of information, that we miss the whole story, the larger meaning, or how everything connects. Thinkers for thousands of years have talked about this. Ancient Greek philosophers, people like Plato, thought sometimes we only see a shadow of something, not the real thing making that shadow. It meant they believed we might only see a small part of the truth, not the whole truth. Scientists also deal with this. They can study one tiny atom, but they also have to remember it's part of a huge, complex universe. Imagine you're on a basketball team. One player misses a free throw, and everyone gets mad at that one player. But here's what might be missed. Maybe the team was tired because they practiced too late, or they hadn't worked on team defense all week, leading to the free throw situation in the first place. Focusing only on the missed shot is like looking at one tiny piece of the game. The big picture is about the team's overall health, practice, and strategy. When we only see a small part, we can make quick judgments. But if we try to step back, to see the whole design, the entire game, or the full story, things often make more sense. It helps us understand situations, people, and even ourselves much better. It lets us see the gentle flow of things, not just the small, sharp edges. It's a way to be more thoughtful, more patient, and kinder in how we see the world around us. The trouble with always and never. Have you ever caught yourself saying, "I always mess that up," or "that never happens to me"? Take a moment to think about those two words, always and never. They sound so definite, don't they? They put a firm, unmoving wall around our thoughts, like everything is set in stone. But here's the thing, real life, the world around us, and even our own experiences, are almost never that simple or fixed. When we use always, we're saying something happens every single time, without fail, no exceptions, and never means it absolutely does not happen, not ever, under any circumstance. These words are incredibly powerful. They can make us feel stuck in a bad pattern, or make us judge situations and people unfairly. Long ago, even ancient thinkers understood that everything is constantly changing. A famous Greek philosopher named Heraclitus once said something like, "You can't step into the same river twice." He meant that the river itself is always flowing, always new water, and even you are a little different each time. So, if even a river can't be always the same, How can our more complicated thoughts and feelings be? Consider this idea in your own daily life. Maybe you think, I'm always late for school. But is that truly always? Did it happen yesterday? What about last week? Probably not every single day. Or perhaps a friend says, you never listen to me. That feels hurtful, and it's probably not completely true. You might not listen all the time, but never. That shuts down the conversation. It means there's no way for you to prove them wrong, or for you to try harder, because the door is already closed. These powerful little words can truly trap our minds. They stop us from seeing the small changes, the exceptions, the chances to grow and improve. When we realize that very few things are truly always or never, we open ourselves up to more possibilities. We become more curious about why things happen and how they might change. We start to see the world as a place full of chances and subtle shifts, not just fixed, unmoving rules. It's a calmer, softer way to look at life, full of understanding and potential instead of hard, unyielding edges. It reminds us that things, and even people, can and do change. Your brain's favorite mistakes. Have you ever wondered why we sometimes believe things that aren't quite true? Or why it's so hard to change our minds, even when new facts show up? Here's the thing. Our brains, for all their power, have some favorite mistakes they like to make. These aren't signs you're not smart. They're just clever shortcuts our minds use to process the world fast. But sometimes, these shortcuts lead us a little off course. It's not a new idea. This thought about our minds playing tricks. Thinkers, centuries ago, like the ancient Greeks, observed how easily people could be swayed by their feelings or what they wanted to believe. They noticed patterns in how people messed up their thinking, long before we had psychology. It's just part of being human, how our minds are built. Here's an example. Imagine you really believe a certain video game is the best. You might then only pay attention to reviews that praise it, and you might skip any reviews that point out its flaws. This is called confirmation bias. It's your brain's habit of looking for information that confirms what it already thinks. It's like only listening to songs by your favorite band, ignoring other great ones. Your brain tries to keep things simple by sticking to what it knows, and that's why it matters. Understanding these habits isn't about saying our brains are broken. Not at all. It's about seeing the incredible ways our minds work, and how they can sometimes trip themselves up. Knowing about these favorite mistakes simply makes us more aware. It helps us pause, ask more questions, and see things a little more clearly. It's a quiet reminder that understanding isn't just about learning new facts. It's also about understanding the tools we use to learn them. The power of the first number you hear have. You ever noticed how a simple number can quietly stick in your mind? Like a tiny seed planted without you even realizing it. Here's the thing. The very first number you hear or see about something can powerfully shape your later thoughts, even if that first number is totally made up or completely wrong. It's like your brain drops an anchor. This idea, sometimes called anchoring bias by people who study how our minds work, shows a hidden crack in our thinking. Thinkers have explored how we make decisions for a long time. In the 1970s, two smart guys, Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky, did some cool experiments. They found that our minds grab onto the first piece of information, especially a number, and use it as a starting point. It's like your brain uses it as a kind of compass, even when it's pointing in the wrong direction. Imagine this. A friend asks you to guess how many jelly beans are in a giant jar. But first, they ask, do you think there are more or less than 1,000 jelly beans? Then, they ask for your actual guess. Even if you know 1,000 is a random made-up number, your guess might be higher than if they'd first asked, do you think there are more or less than 50 jelly beans? The first number, high or low, acts like a magnet, pulling your estimate closer to it. It sets a sort of mental benchmark, so the next time you hear a price, a statistic, or any number thrown out there, pause for a moment. Think about whether that number is truly helpful, or if it's just trying to set your mind's anchor. Understanding this silent influence helps us to think more clearly and to trust our own judgment, rather than just drifting with the first number we encounter. It reminds us to be curious about where our ideas really come from, why we trust our gut too much. Have you ever felt a strong pull towards something? A sudden feeling that just feels right, even if you can't explain why. That's your gut talking. We call it gut instinct or intuition, and it's that quick. automatic decision our brain makes without us even realizing it's happening. It's like a snap judgment, a feeling in your stomach that tells you what to do. And here's the thing, we often trust these feelings a lot. For a long time, trusting your gut was super important. Think about early humans. If a rustle in the bushes made them feel a sudden fear, their gut told them to run. It was a fast warning system. There was no time to sit and think deeply about whether that rustle was a dangerous animal or just the wind. So, our brains got really good at making these quick, instinctive calls. It saved lives. But in our modern world, most choices aren't about survival. Imagine you meet someone new. Maybe your gut tells you right away that you like them, or that you shouldn't trust them. And sometimes, that gut feeling is right. But other times, it's not. Your gut might be reacting to something small, like a person reminding you of someone else you knew, even if they aren't actually alike at all. It's like when you're taking a multiple choice test, and you pick the first answer that pops into your head, only to realize later, after thinking about it, that a different answer made more sense. Your gut was fast, but it wasn't always accurate. Our brains love shortcuts, and gut feelings are the ultimate shortcut. They save mental energy, but this means we sometimes skip the thoughtful part, the part where we really consider things. So, while that quick feeling can be a helpful starting point, it's worth remembering that our gut is not always a perfect guide. It's okay to pause, to breathe, and to let your deeper thinking catch up before you decide. Sometimes, the true wisdom lies not in the first feeling, but in the quiet thought that follows. The problem with too many choices: have you ever looked at a menu, or maybe a huge wall of cereal boxes, and just felt stuck? Like your brain couldn't decide what to pick, even though there were so many options right in front of you. It might seem strange. We often think that having more choices is always better. We want freedom. We want options. But here's the thing, sometimes, when we have too many paths laid out before us, we actually get stuck. This isn't just a minor annoyance. It's a real crack in how we think about choice and freedom. When the number of options becomes too big, it can make us feel confused, stressed, and sometimes less happy with whatever we finally pick. Thinkers throughout history have noticed this peculiar problem. Even ancient philosophers talked about the peace that comes from simplicity, suggesting that endless possibilities aren't always a blessing. More recently, people who study how our minds work, psychologists, have given it a name: the paradox of choice. It's the idea that what seems like a good thing, lots of choices, can actually lead to paralysis or even regret. Imagine you're trying to pick a movie or TV show to watch on a streaming service. There are thousands of titles, categories, and recommendations. You scroll for what feels like forever. You click on a few, read summaries, maybe even start watching for a minute or two, then go back to scrolling. An hour passes, and you're tired. You haven't chosen anything, or you pick something quickly just to be done, only to wonder if you missed something better. That feeling of overwhelm, the nagging doubt after you finally choose, that's what we're talking about. It leaves us with a quiet question: is true freedom found in endless options, or in the wisdom of knowing what truly matters and choosing from a clear, focused set? Sometimes, the weight of too much choice can make us long for fewer decisions, reminding us that clarity, not just quantity, often brings peace to our minds. Thinking you're special when you're not. Have you ever felt like your thoughts, your feelings, your problems are completely unique, like nobody else could understand what you're going through? It's a natural human feeling. We live inside our own heads, right? But here's the thing. Often we tend to feel more special, more different than we actually are. This is a common mind trick. We place ourselves at the center of our personal universe, believing our experiences are unique. For a long time, people believed the Earth was the center of everything. All the stars, the sun, the planets, they thought it revolved around our world. This made humans feel incredibly important, like the universe was built just for us. But then thinkers like Copernicus and Galileo showed us a different truth. The Earth is just one planet, spinning around a star, in a vast galaxy. We aren't the center. Philosophers have also shown how we often put ourselves at the heart of every story, missing how much we share. Think about picking a unique username for a new game or social media account. You might think you've found something super original, but then you type it in, and the site tells you, sorry, that name is already taken. It happens to everyone. Or maybe you feel nervous before a big presentation at school. You might think, No one else is this scared. But chances are, almost every person who has ever given a presentation has felt that exact same way. These feelings are shared. So, what does this little crack in our thinking tell us? It's not about saying you aren't important, because you absolutely are. It's about seeing that our specialness often connects us to others, instead of separating us. It reminds us that we're part of something much bigger. Our struggles, our joys, our ideas, they often echo in the lives of countless other people. And that's not a lonely thought. Instead, it's a way to feel more connected, more deeply human. It helps us understand each other better and be a little kinder. The blurry line between fact and opinion. Have you ever stopped to think about how you know something is true? We talk a lot about facts and opinions. A fact is something you can prove. Like the sun rises in the east. You can see it happen every day. An opinion is what someone thinks or feels. Like summer is the best season. That's just your preference, right? Others might love winter, but here's the thing. Sometimes, the line between fact and opinion isn't so clear. It gets fuzzy. What one person calls a fact, another might see as just a belief. For a long time, people truly believed the earth was flat. To them, that was a fact. It made sense based on what they could see. But then, explorers sailed, and scientists studied, and they proved the earth is round. So, what was once a widely accepted fact became a proven mistake. This shows us that what we consider true can change as we learn more. Think about something simple, like a school lunch. Someone might say, "This sandwich is healthy." Is that a fact? Well, it depends. Is it a fact based on the type of bread, the amount of fat, or the ingredients? Or is it an opinion based on how full it makes them feel? Maybe it's healthy compared to a candy bar, but not compared to a salad. It's tricky. The idea of healthy can shift from a clear definition to a personal feeling very quickly. So when someone tells you something, pause for a moment. Ask yourself, can this be proven? Or is it more about what they believe or how they feel? It's not always easy to tell. But learning to spot this blurry line can help you think more clearly about everything you hear and read. It lets you decide what really holds up and what's just someone's thought. And that's a powerful way to understand the world. How a question can trick your answer. Have you ever been asked something and felt like the question itself was quietly nudging you toward a certain answer? Here's the thing. Sometimes, a question isn't just asking for information. It also tries to guide your answer. It's like the question has a secret hint inside it, pointing to what it wants you to say. Think about it. The words we choose can hold a kind of gentle power. They can shape thoughts, even before a response is given. For a long time, people have known this. Back in ancient Greece, thinkers like Socrates were masters at asking questions that dug deep, forcing people to really examine their beliefs. But that same powerful tool can also be used in a way that's less open, less honest. Imagine this. A friend asks you, "Did you love that amazing new video game we played?" That question already suggests the game was amazing, and that you should have loved it. It feels different from them just asking, "What did you think of the new video game?" The first question puts a little pressure on you. It's like it already has an answer waiting, just for you to agree. This happens all the time in surveys, in conversations, even in the news. Sometimes, the way something is asked makes it harder to give a truly honest or different answer. It can make you feel like you're supposed to pick a certain side or agree with a hidden idea. So, the next time you hear a question, pause. Listen not just to the words, but to the quiet energy behind them. What is it truly asking? Is it genuinely open, or is it trying to lead you down a path? Being aware of this helps you think for yourself, to stand firmly in your own thoughts. Instead of being gently pushed by someone else's hidden ideas, it's a quiet strength, noticing the whispers behind the words. The myth of the perfect plan. Have you ever tried to plan something out perfectly? Maybe for a big school project, a party, or even just your daily schedule. You put so much thought into every step, trying to make sure nothing goes wrong. But here's the thing about life, it rarely follows a perfect script. This idea that we can create a flawless plan, one that will work exactly as we imagine, is often a myth we tell ourselves. It's tempting to believe in perfect plans. For a long time, people have wanted to control their world, to remove all uncertainty. Ancient thinkers imagined perfect societies. Great generals drew up incredibly detailed battle plans. They believed that if they just thought hard enough, they could truly master any situation. But history shows us that even the smartest minds face the unexpected. The world is simply too full of twists and turns. Think about a time you planned a big group project for school. You assigned roles, set clear deadlines, and thought you had every detail figured out. You felt prepared, but then someone got sick, or a key piece of information was harder to find, or maybe the technology didn't cooperate. The perfect plan suddenly had holes, and you had to think on your feet. It's a bit like trying to draw a map of a place you've never actually been. You can guess, but the real journey will always show you things you didn't expect. A sudden detour, a hidden path, or even a beautiful view you hadn't imagined. The map helps guide you, but it's never the whole story. So, here's what I found. True strength isn't in making a plan that can't break, it's in making a plan that can bend. It's about being ready for things to change, learning to adjust quickly, and finding new paths when the first one closes. The most valuable lessons often come from those unexpected detours, not from sticking rigidly to the path we first drew. There's a quiet, deep wisdom in knowing that perfect doesn't exist, and that, surprisingly, is perfectly okay. Getting stuck in a thinking rut. Have you ever felt like your thoughts are running on a treadmill, going nowhere? Like your brain is stuck playing the same song on repeat, or walking the same path over and over? That feeling is what we call a thinking rut. It's when our minds fall into familiar patterns and struggle to find new ways to see things or solve problems. Our brains love shortcuts. They build habits for everything, from tying our shoes to how we think. These shortcuts are usually helpful. They make daily life easier, but sometimes they become ruts. We get so used to thinking in one way that we can't easily imagine another. It's like a well-worn path in the woods. It's easy to follow, but it might not lead to a new discovery. For a long time, thinkers have noticed this. Ancient Greek philosophers, like Plato, talked about how people could be trapped in a cave of their own limited understanding, only seeing shadows of the truth. They believed it was hard to break free and see the world as it truly was, because old ways of thinking were so strong. It shows that getting stuck isn't a new problem. It's part of being human. Here's an example. Imagine you're trying to figure out a puzzle. You keep trying the same pieces in the same spots, even though they clearly don't fit. You're in a rut. Your brain is saying, this is how we always try puzzles. But the puzzle needs a new approach. Maybe you need to turn the piece around, or look for a completely different section. When we notice we're in a thinking rut, it's not a bad thing. It's just a sign. It means our minds are ready for something new, a fresh path. It's a quiet invitation to pause, breathe, and gently ask ourselves, is there another way to look at this? Is there a different question I could ask? Our minds are vast, and there's always more to explore beyond the beaten path. The danger of that's just how it is. Have you ever heard someone say, oh, that's just how it is, and then stop thinking about it? Maybe you've even said it yourself. This phrase, simple as it sounds, can be a quiet danger to our minds. It's like building a wall that keeps us from asking why. Or could it be different? When we just accept that's just how it is, we stop being curious. We close off our minds. Think about it this way. For hundreds of years, most people believed the earth was flat. That's just how it is, they might have thought. If you sailed too far, you'd fall off the edge, and everyone agreed. It seemed like common sense. But then, brave explorers and thinkers started to wonder. They looked at shadows. They watched ships disappear hull first over the horizon. They didn't accept the old idea. They asked questions, even when it was unpopular. Because they questioned, we now know the earth is round. Here's another example. For a long time, people thought heavier objects would naturally fall faster than lighter ones. It just seemed right. You drop a feather and a rock, and the rock hits first. Right. That's just how it is. But a thinker named Galileo supposedly dropped two balls of different weights from a tower. He showed that they hit the ground at almost the same time. He didn't just accept what everyone thought. He tested it. He wondered. So, here's the thing. When we just accept that's just how it is, we close off paths to new understanding. We miss chances to improve things, or to see the world in a fresh way. It means we stop learning. It means we don't look closer at what might be hidden, or what could be better. Being curious, asking simple questions, even about things that seem obvious, helps us grow. It helps us see past the old ideas and imagine something new. It keeps our minds open and alive. It lets us truly understand, and that's why it matters. why we ignore what we don't like. Have you ever felt that little flicker inside you that makes you want to look away? Why do we sometimes turn our minds away from things that challenge us? It's often about comfort. Our brains like things tidy and familiar. When a new idea bumps against something we already believe, something we really want to be true, it can feel like a small earthquake. To avoid that shaky feeling, we might just ignore the new information. It's not always a choice. Sometimes, our minds naturally filter out what doesn't fit our preferred world picture. This isn't a new problem. Thinkers thousands of years ago, like the great philosophers in ancient Greece, noticed this human habit. They saw how people often preferred a comfortable lie over a difficult truth. They knew wisdom meant being willing to see things as they are, not just as we wish them to be. Imagine you've decided your local soccer team is the best. Then your friend shows you stats proving they've lost their last 5 games. You might quickly say, those stats are wrong, or the refs were unfair. You might even change the subject. It's hard to accept something that clashes with your loyalty, even if it's true. This pull to protect our ideas is powerful. So, here's the thing. Understanding this part of how our minds work is a step towards wisdom. It means gently asking ourselves, am I seeing all of it, or just the parts I prefer? It takes a quiet kind of bravery to welcome ideas that don't immediately feel good. But by doing so, we open our minds wider. We become more thoughtful and understand the world in all its complicated beauty. The brain's proof detector going haywire. Have you ever stopped to wonder how your brain decides what's real? It's constantly collecting bits of information, like a tireless detective. Its main job is to figure out what's true and what's not, searching for proof in everything we see, hear, and feel. But here's the thing. Sometimes, this amazing proof detector inside our heads can go a little haywire. It can accept ideas as true, even when they aren't, or when there's very little real evidence. Ancient thinkers, thousands of years ago, thought deeply about this. Philosophers like Plato, from old Greece, would ask big questions. He wondered, how can we truly know something? What if our senses trick us? What if what we believe is just a shadow on a cave wall, not the real thing? They understood that our minds have a strange way of holding on to ideas, especially ones that make us feel good, or that fit what we already think. Think about this for a moment. Imagine you hear a rumor about someone you don't really like. Maybe your brain, without you even realizing it, wants that rumor to be true. So, your proof detector might grab onto tiny details that seem to support the rumor, blowing them up into proof. It might ignore bigger pieces of information that prove the rumor is false. You might even start looking for new information that only confirms what you already decided. This happens a lot. It's not about being bad. It's just how our brains sometimes work, seeking comfort in what feels familiar or desired. So, here's what I found. Our minds aren't perfect machines, always giving us the pure, unfiltered truth. They are influenced by our feelings, our hopes, and even our fears. This means we have to be gentle with our own thoughts, always questioning, always checking. It's about developing a quiet strength to look past what we wish to be true, and instead, seek what truly is. It's a lifelong journey, learning to really see, believing it because it's easy to remember. Have you ever noticed how some ideas just stick in your head? Sometimes, because they're so easy to recall, we start to believe they're more true or common than they actually are. Here's the thing. Our brains love taking shortcuts. If something is vivid or easy to pull from our memory, we tend to give it more importance. This is a crack in our thinking called the availability heuristic. It means we judge how likely something is based on how easily examples come to mind. This way of thinking isn't new. For a long time, it helped us survive. Imagine ancient humans. If they often saw a certain type of plant that made them sick, that memory would be strong and easy to access. So, they'd quickly believe all plants like it were dangerous. This shortcut helped them avoid harm quickly. But in our modern world, filled with news and stories, this shortcut can sometimes lead us astray. Think about the news. You might hear about a plane crash. It's a big, dramatic story, right? It fills the news for days. Because that story is so vivid and easy to remember, you might start to think flying is really dangerous. But here's the problem. Cars crash way more often. We just don't hear about every single car accident on the national news. Our brains grab onto the easily available, dramatic memory. making us overestimate the danger of flying and underestimate the danger of driving. It's not that flying is perfectly safe, but our perception is skewed because of what's easy to remember. So, what does this tell us? Our mind's shortcuts are powerful. It's not a flaw in your brain. It's just how it's wired to work quickly. But knowing this can help you. When a thought feels really strong or a belief seems very true, pause for a moment. Ask yourself, is this true because it feels right, or because I've just heard a lot about it? It's a quiet way to check your own foundation of thought. The problem with imagining the worst: have you ever found your mind racing, picturing the absolute worst thing that could happen? Like, before a big test, you suddenly imagine forgetting everything. Or before a sports game, you see yourself making a huge mistake. It's a strange thing our brains do. They jump straight to the darkest possibilities. Here's the thing. For a long time, this was actually helpful. If you lived thousands of years ago, imagining a tiger around every corner might have kept you safe. Your brain was trained to spot danger, to prepare for the absolute worst, just to survive. It was like a built-in alarm system, always on. But today, we don't usually have tigers chasing us. So, this ancient brain habit can cause problems. It means we often spend a lot of time feeling anxious about things that might never happen. Some ancient thinkers, like the Stoics, understood this. They lived in Greece and Rome thousands of years ago. They taught that it's not what happens to us that causes suffering, but what we think about what happens. They believed worrying about future bad things was a major source of unhappiness. Think about it this way. Imagine you have a big school presentation coming up. Instead of practicing, your mind just plays out scenarios where you trip, forget your lines, or everyone laughs. Your heart starts beating fast, your stomach hurts, and you feel all the stress, but nothing bad has actually happened yet. You're creating that stress for yourself, long before the real event. Your body is reacting as if those terrible things are real, right now. So, while imagining the worst might feel like you're being prepared, it can also trap you. It can steal your peace and energy, even before you've had a chance to try. Sometimes, the only bad thing that truly happens is the one we keep creating in our own minds, over and over again. Maybe the real strength is not just preparing for the worst, but learning to trust that most moments are actually okay. Your filter bubble of thought. Have you ever stopped to think about how you see the world? It's a little like looking through a special window. Your window is unique. It shows you certain things clearly, but it might blur or even hide other things completely. This is called a filter bubble. Here's the thing, our minds naturally create these bubbles. Every person has one. It's built from everything you've learned, everyone you've met, and every experience you've had. So, if you grow up in one kind of place, or listen to one type of music, your bubble gets shaped by those things. It gets good at seeing the world that way. Think about the past. For a long time, people in different parts of the world believed completely different things about the sun or the stars. They lived in their own bubbles of understanding. For example, some ancient thinkers believed the earth was the center of the universe. That's what they saw, and it made sense. It was their truth, inside their bubble. Today, we see this a lot online. Maybe you use social media, right? The apps show you more of what you already like or agree with. If you always click on videos about basketball, you'll see more basketball. If you follow certain news, you'll see more stories that match those views. The app's computer brain tries to make you happy, but it also strengthens your filter bubble. It shows you less of what you might disagree with. So, here's what happens. You see a specific version of reality, not the whole picture. It's like only eating one type of food, your favorite. You miss other flavors. It's important to remember that everyone has a bubble. Understanding your own bubble, and that others have different ones, is a big step. It means you can try to look beyond your own window sometimes, and truly see more of the world. It means being open to new ideas, even if they seem strange at first. That's how we grow our minds. When labels limit our minds, have you ever noticed how quickly we label things, or people? We say this is a chair, or that person is an artist. Labels are helpful. They give us a quick way to understand the world, a shortcut for our brains. But here's the thing, sometimes, these labels can trap our minds. They can make us stop looking closely, stop asking questions, or stop thinking deeply about what's really there. We might decide we know something just by naming it. Thinkers throughout history have wondered about this. An ancient Greek philosopher, named Plato, for example, talked about how we often mistake the shadows of things, our ideas, our words, our labels, for the real things themselves. He meant that sometimes the words we use for something become so powerful, they feel more real to us than the actual thing. It's like seeing only a picture of a magnificent tree and thinking you know everything about the forest, even its rough bark or how its leaves smell after rain. Imagine someone says, "Oh, she's just a quiet kid," and suddenly, that label sticks in everyone's mind. People might not try to talk to her, thinking they already know her, but maybe that quiet kid has amazing stories inside, or brilliant ideas she's just not shouting out. Maybe she's a fantastic writer, or a deep thinker, or incredibly kind. The label quiet stops others from seeing her full, complex self. It limits what they expect from her, and sometimes it can even limit what she feels able to show about herself. Or, think about types of music. If you only listen to pop, and label everything else as boring or weird, you might miss out on incredible jazz, moving classical pieces, or energetic folk music. Just because you've put them in a different mental box based on a simple name, it makes you wonder, doesn't it? What if we tried to see things without their usual names first? What if we looked at people, or even new ideas, without immediately putting them into a neat box? Maybe the crack in our foundation here is thinking we've fully understood something, just because we've named it. There's almost always a lot more to everything than its label. And that's why it matters to keep our minds curious, always ready to discover what truly lies beneath the surface, beyond the easy word we use. The cost of being right all the time. Have you ever met someone who always needs to be right? Maybe it's a friend in a game, or someone in a class debate. It feels good to win an argument, doesn't it? To know you've got the right answer. But here's the thing, always needing to be right can actually cost us a lot. Think about it. When we are sure we know everything, when our minds are closed off to new ideas, what happens? We stop learning, we stop growing. Imagine a scientist, hundreds of years ago, certain that the Earth was the center of the universe. This was the common belief for a very long time. But then, people like Nicolaus Copernicus and later Galileo Galilei looked closer. They gathered new information, made different observations. They were brave enough to question what everyone knew was right. If they had just insisted on being right, if they had closed their minds, we might still believe the sun orbits the Earth, and that's why it matters. Here's an example closer to home. Imagine you're trying to solve a tricky math problem. You have an idea, and you're convinced it's the only way. You write it down. Sure, you're right. But if you don't check your work, or listen to a classmate's different approach, you might miss a simpler, better, or even correct way to solve it. Your certainty, while comfortable, stops you from seeing other paths. In psychology, there's an idea called cognitive rigidity. It basically means your brain gets stuck on one way of thinking. You become stiff, unwilling to bend your ideas or accept new facts. It makes it hard to change your mind, even when new evidence shows up. And that's a problem, because life and knowledge are always changing. So maybe true wisdom isn't about knowing all the answers. Maybe it's about knowing when you don't know. It's about being open, curious, and willing to say, maybe I need to look at this differently. Because when we let go of needing to be right, we open ourselves up to truly understanding the world, and each other, a little better. We make room for new discoveries, even about ourselves. Not asking why. Enough. Have you ever stopped to think about why? We don't always ask why. We go through our days, often accepting things as they are. We hear a statement, or a rule, or see a way things are done, and we just take it in. It's like we're given a puzzle piece, and instead of wondering how it fits or why it's shaped that way, we just put it on the table. But here's the thing, not asking why enough can leave big gaps in our understanding. It means we might not truly know why we believe what we believe, or why the world works the way it does. Long ago, in ancient Greece, there was a famous thinker named Socrates. He spent his life asking simple but powerful why questions. He believed that by constantly questioning, we could dig past surface ideas and find real truth. He wanted people to think for themselves, not just parrot what others said. Consider this. Maybe you hear that you need 8 hours of sleep every night. Most of us just nod and try to do it. But if you stop and ask, why 8 hours? What actually happens if I don't? You'll learn about brain function, memory consolidation, and how sleep impacts your mood and health. That why takes you from a simple rule to a deep understanding of your own body. It turns a command into knowledge. So, when we choose not to ask why, we sometimes miss out on the incredible lessons hidden just beneath the surface of everyday life. It's not about being difficult or challenging everything. It's about being truly curious. It's about wanting to see the world with clearer eyes, to understand the roots of ideas, and to build a stronger foundation for our own thoughts. Each why can be like a key, unlocking a deeper layer of meaning in everything around us. The brain's favorite explanations. Have you ever wondered why some ideas just feel so right in your head, almost like they belong there, even if you haven't fully checked them out? Our brains have a funny way of working. They love making things simple. They are constantly trying to find connections, to put pieces together into a neat story so we can understand the world quickly. Sometimes, these quick stories become our mind's favorite explanations, and it can be hard to let go of them. For a long time, humans have tried to explain everything around them. Before modern science, people would often look at something confusing like a sudden sickness or a scary storm and invent a simple reason. Maybe a god was angry, or a spirit was disturbed. These weren't bad explanations for their time. They helped people feel a bit more in control, to make sense of a confusing, unpredictable world. Their brains were just doing what brains do, seeking order and quick answers. Think about a common idea we hear. If it rains on your parade, it's bad luck. Or maybe someone has a lucky charm they believe helps them pass tests. Let's say your friend wears a specific old hat every time they have a big soccer game. The first game they wear it, they score a goal. The next game, they wear it again, and they win. Their brain quickly connects the hat to success. It's easier to think this hat makes me play better than to remember all the hours of practice, the team effort, or even just pure chance. Our minds often prefer that simple, direct link, even if other, more complex reasons are really at play. This habit of our brain, this search for simple, satisfying answers, shapes how we see everything, from why we feel a certain way, to why the world works as it does. It reminds us to be gentle with our own thoughts, but also to be curious. It's an invitation to pause, just for a moment, and ask, is this the only reason? Could there be more to the story? Looking deeper helps us discover a much richer, more true understanding of things. How we rate ourselves to high have. You ever felt super confident about something? Maybe a school project or a sport, only to realize later you weren't quite as amazing as you thought. Here's the thing. It's a common way our minds work. We often believe we're better, smarter, or more skilled than we actually are. This isn't about being arrogant on purpose. It's a natural twist in how we see ourselves. For centuries, people have thought about this. Ancient thinkers like Socrates, a wise man from long ago, famously said that true wisdom comes from knowing what you don't know. He understood that recognizing our own limits, our own gaps in knowledge, is the real key to growing. It's like admitting you might not have all the answers, which actually makes you smarter. Think about a time you tried to bake cookies for the first time. You might have watched a video and thought, oh, this looks easy, I've got this. You might have even pictured perfect, chewy cookies. But when you pulled them out of the oven, maybe they were burnt on the bottom, or a little too flat. You rated your baking skills too high before you even started. It's not a failure, it's just learning. This tendency to overrate ourselves, sometimes called the superiority illusion, can touch many parts of our lives. It means we might sometimes miss out on opportunities to truly improve, because we already think we're good enough. We might not ask for help, or we might not study as hard, because we feel we already understand everything. But here's a thought to hold on to. Understanding this about ourselves is a quiet strength. When we begin to see our abilities with honest eyes, not inflated ones, we open up room for real growth. We become more curious, more willing to learn, and kinder to ourselves when we mess up. It's about gently peeling back layers to find a truer version of ourselves, one always ready to learn something new. And that's a beautiful thing. The power of tiny, hidden cues. Do you ever notice how a quiet room feels different when a certain song starts playing, or how a faint smell brings back a memory? It's almost like magic. But our minds are always picking up on tiny, hidden cues from the world. These aren't loud messages, they are whispers, subtle hints we often don't even realize we're noticing. This idea that small things have a big impact isn't new. People have wondered about it for ages. Ancient thinkers realized our feelings and choices aren't always born from clear steps. Sometimes they just appear. Our brains are like sponges, soaking up bits of information without us knowing. These tiny pieces can shift our mood or guide our thoughts without us being fully aware. Here's an example. Imagine you're in a grocery store. If soft, calming music plays, you might walk slower, feel more relaxed, and look at more items. But if the music is fast and upbeat, you might move quicker, feel rushed, and just grab what you need. The music, a hidden cue, did that work. You likely didn't even notice it making you feel that way. So what does this tell us? Our minds are incredibly open. We are always, subtly, being shaped by the world, and that's why it matters. This isn't about feeling controlled, but about finding quiet strength. It's about knowing that even the smallest details hold a gentle power. We can start to notice these whispers, and maybe, just maybe, learn to choose which ones truly sink in. It's a quiet truth about how we think and feel. The power of tiny, hidden cues. Do you ever notice how a quiet room feels different when a certain song starts playing, or how a faint smell brings back a memory? It's almost like magic. But our minds are always picking up on tiny, hidden cues from the world. These aren't loud messages. They are whispers, subtle hints we often don't even realize we're noticing. This idea that small things have a big impact isn't new. People have wondered about it for ages. Ancient thinkers realized our feelings and choices aren't always born from clear steps. Sometimes they just appear. Our brains are like sponges, soaking up bits of information without us knowing. These tiny pieces can shift our mood or guide our thoughts without us being fully aware. Here's an example. Imagine you're in a grocery store. If soft, calming music plays, you might walk slower, feel more relaxed, and look at more items. But if the music is fast and upbeat, you might move quicker, feel rushed, and just grab what you need. The music, a hidden cue, did that work. You likely didn't even notice it making you feel that way. So, what does this tell us? Our minds are incredibly open. We are always, subtly, being shaped by the world, and that's why it matters. This isn't about feeling controlled, but about finding quiet strength. It's about knowing that even the smallest details hold a gentle power. We can start to notice these whispers, and maybe, just maybe, learn to choose which ones truly sink in. It's a quiet truth about how we think and feel. The illusion of understanding. Have you ever felt like you truly understood something completely? Maybe a tricky math problem, or how a specific app works. It's a powerful feeling, that sense of I get it. But sometimes, that feeling is an illusion. Our brains are amazing, quick at making connections. Often, these connections are just enough to make us feel like we grasp a topic, even when we only know a tiny piece of it. Think about old thinkers like Socrates from ancient Greece. He was famous for asking lots of questions. He'd talk to people who thought they knew everything, and then, by asking simple questions, he'd show them they didn't know as much as they thought. He believed true wisdom came from knowing how much you didn't know. It's like a famous idea, I know that I know nothing. It means being honest about the limits of your knowledge. Consider your smartphone. You use it every day. You know how to send texts, watch videos, and find information online. You probably feel like you understand your phone. But do you really know how the touchscreen detects your finger, or how radio waves carry your voice, or how millions of lines of code make an app appear? We understand how to use it, but the deep how it works part is often a mystery. That feeling of understanding how to use it can trick us into thinking we understand the whole complex system. This isn't a trick your brain plays to be mean, it's just efficient. But recognizing this illusion is super important. It means we can stay curious. It means we don't stop asking questions too soon. It reminds us that there's always more to explore, more layers to uncover. And that journey, the journey of discovering how much more there is to learn, is one of the coolest parts of being human. Thinking you're logical when you're not. Have you ever felt completely sure about an idea, like it was perfectly clear and just made total sense? Maybe you laid out your argument, piece by piece, and it seemed so perfectly logical. But here's the thing. Our minds often play quiet tricks on us. We can feel like we're thinking straight, when really, we're taking mental shortcuts, or only seeing what we want to see. This isn't about being dumb or lacking smarts. It's just deeply woven into how our brains are wired. For thousands of years, people have wrestled with this puzzle. Ancient Greek thinkers, like the philosopher Aristotle, spent a lot of time trying to figure out how to think clearly. They wanted to build arguments, step by step, like a careful craftsman, to avoid mistakes. They understood how easily humans could get tangled up in their own thoughts, even when they truly believed they were being totally reasonable. It shows how tricky our own minds can be, even for the brightest among us. Think about it like this. Imagine you meet someone new on the first day of school. Maybe they accidentally trip and spill something. Your brain might quickly decide, oh, they're clumsy. And because you've made that fast judgment, everything they do afterward might seem to prove your first idea. If they then drop a pencil, you might think, see, definitely clumsy. But if someone else drops a pencil, you might just shrug it off. You're not trying to be unfair, but your mind is just confirming its first, quick thought. This quiet bias, where we look for what confirms our beliefs, happens all the time. We often don't even notice we're doing it. So, what does this mean for us? It means true, clear thinking is a profound journey, and it often feels like hard work. It means we have to pause and gently question our own thoughts, especially when we feel most certain. It's not about being wrong. It's about understanding. The silent ways our amazing, complex brains work. Being aware of these natural tendencies can help us be more open-minded, kinder in our judgments of others, and more honest with ourselves. It helps us see the world and our own inner workings a little more clearly, with more grace. The problem with black and white thinking, have you ever thought about how we sometimes see the world in very simple ways? Like everything is either completely right or totally wrong, super good or utterly bad. This is what people call black and white thinking. It's when our minds sort everything into two neat boxes, success or failure, smart or foolish, friend or enemy. There's no middle ground, no room for maybe or it depends. This way of thinking has been around for a long time. Our brains often try to make sense of complicated things by simplifying them. It's easier to see clear lines than messy, unclear spaces. Many old stories and legends had very clear heroes and villains. It felt safe to put everything into a yes or no category. But here's the thing, real life almost never fits into just two boxes. Think about the colors we see. Is the world just black and white? No, of course not. There are endless shades of gray and vibrant colors in between. Or consider how light works. It's not just on or off. There are dimmers, shadows, twilight. The light changes gradually. In science, we learn about spectrums, how colors blend, how sound waves have different frequencies. In psychology, we know emotions aren't just happy or sad. There are hundreds of feelings in between, like joy, contentment, worry, or frustration. A person isn't just good or bad. They are a mix of many things, with strengths and flaws. When we get stuck in black and white thinking, we miss so much of the truth. We miss the subtle shades that make life real and interesting. We miss understanding why people do what they do, or why situations are complicated. It makes it harder to learn, harder to grow, and harder to truly connect with others who might see things differently. Embracing the grays helps us build a stronger, more flexible way of thinking. It helps us see the world, and ourselves, with more understanding and kindness. When opinions feel like facts, have you ever been so sure about something, so absolutely convinced, it felt like a solid truth, like it couldn't be any other way? We all feel this sometimes. This feeling is powerful, but it points to a crack in our thinking. Often, what we deeply believe is just an opinion, not a fact. A fact is proven. Gravity, for instance. Drop a ball, it falls. An opinion is what someone thinks or feels. Blue is the best color, is an opinion. No proof exists. But brains can be tricky. When an opinion is widely shared, or held for a long time, it feels as real as a fact. Imagine people long ago. For centuries, most believed the sun went around the earth. It seemed obvious. They saw it move. This was a strong opinion, shared by many. It felt like a fact. Then, scientists like Copernicus and Galileo showed, with proof, Earth actually orbits the sun. What felt like a fact was a powerful opinion. Here's a daily example. You might think a certain video game is the best. You list reasons. You might even argue. To you, it's not opinion, it's truth. Your brain helps this. It likes to prove you right. This is called confirmation bias. We look for info supporting our beliefs, making opinions solid. So, what does this mean for us? We need to ask if what we hold is fact or deeply held opinion. It's good to have strong beliefs. They are part of who we are. But knowing this difference helps us understand others. It helps us listen better. It reminds us our thoughts can grow if we give them room. The trap of I knew it all along. Have you ever looked back at something that happened and thought, oh, I knew that was going to happen? Maybe a friend finally made a choice you expected, or a sports team lost a game you felt they were destined to lose. But did you really know it beforehand? Or did it just feel obvious once it was all over? Here's the thing. Our minds sometimes play a trick on us. It's called hindsight bias. Once an event happens, our memory often shifts a little. We start to believe that we knew the outcome all along, even if we didn't. Our brains make sense of the past by making it seem more predictable than it truly was. It's like our inner storyteller rewriting the script to make us look smarter. This idea even shapes how we see history. Take the time when people believed the sun orbited the earth. For centuries, that was common sense. Then, thinkers like Copernicus suggested the earth actually revolved around the sun. That idea was radical and hard to grasp back then. Today, it seems so obvious, doesn't it? We might think, how could they not have known? But that's the trap. Looking back, it feels simple, but at the time, it was a massive shift in thinking, not an easy discovery at all. This bias makes us forget how hard it was for people to break free from old beliefs. Imagine, you're solving a complicated puzzle. You struggle, try different pieces, and feel stuck. Then, someone shows you the final step, and suddenly, it clicks. You might even say, oh, I knew it. It was so simple all along. But you didn't know it until you saw the answer. The solution only seemed clear after it was revealed that this trick of the mind can stop us from learning. If we always think we knew it, we won't look closely at our true mistakes or missed chances. It makes us less curious about why things really happened. It might even make us less open to new ideas, because we already feel like we understand everything. To truly grow, we need to be honest with ourselves about what we knew and what we learned along the way. Why we see patterns where there aren't any. Have you ever looked up at the clouds and seen a dog, or a dragon? Or maybe you've sworn you saw a face staring back from a piece of toast. It's not just your imagination playing tricks. Here's the thing, our brains are masters at finding patterns, even when no real pattern exists. Think about it this way. For a very long time, back when humans lived in caves, seeing patterns was super important for staying alive. If you could spot a tiger's stripes in the tall grass, you had a better chance of running away. If you saw a certain shape of berry meant it was safe to eat, you wouldn't starve. Our brains got really good at connecting dots, at making sense of a messy world. It was a survival skill, built deep into us. But sometimes, this amazing skill gets a little carried away. Your brain works so hard to find order that it starts seeing patterns in random noise. Like when you listen to music backwards and think you hear a secret message, or when you see animals in the shadows at night. There might not be any real message or animal there at all. Your brain is just doing its job, trying to make sense of what's around it, filling in the blanks. It's trying to connect things, even if they're not actually connected. So, when you see a pattern in something truly random, like a string of lucky days after wearing a specific shirt, remember that your mind is just trying to create order. It's not trying to trick you. It's trying to help you understand the world. But knowing this can help us think more clearly. It helps us pause and ask, is that pattern really there? Or is my amazing brain just doing what it does best, finding meaning? It's a reminder of how powerful our minds are and how we can learn to guide them. The danger of being too confident. Have you ever felt so completely sure about something you didn't bother to check? Maybe you thought you knew all the answers for a test, or were certain you could win a game without practicing. Here's the thing. Sometimes, being too confident is a trap. It's like putting blinders on your mind. When we're overly sure, we might miss important things or stop ourselves from growing. Think about it. If you believe you know everything, why listen to someone else? Why look for new information? You wouldn't. This isn't about healthy self-belief. That's good. This is about overconfidence making us blind. It can stop us from learning and from fixing mistakes before they get too big. Long ago, a wise man named Socrates lived in Greece. He famously said, "The only true wisdom is in knowing you know nothing." He didn't mean he was dumb. He meant that the more you learn, the more you realize how much more there is. Those who thought they knew everything often stopped learning. Socrates knew being open was the first step to understanding. Here's an example. Imagine a basketball team. They've won all their games, so they think they're unbeatable. They stop practicing hard. They don't listen to their coach. They go into the championship game totally sure they'll win. But the other team has been studying them, working hard. Because the first team was too confident. They overlooked weaknesses and lost. When we are overly confident, we miss the cracks in our own thinking. We don't notice where our ideas might not be strong. It's a quiet danger. True strength isn't just knowing things, but knowing there's always more to learn. It's being brave enough to say, maybe I don't know, and that's okay. I'm ready to find out. Being open helps us build stronger thoughts and stronger lives. Our brain's selective hearing. Have you noticed how you sometimes only hear what you want to hear? Or, after learning a new word, you hear it everywhere. This isn't coincidence. Our brains are efficient, but this can create a crack in understanding. We call it selective hearing, or confirmation bias. Think of your brain as a detective with a theory. It searches for clues. The problem is, our brain is good at finding clues that support its theory. It's not as good at noticing clues that challenge it. It acts like a filter, letting in only information that confirms what it already believes. Wise thinkers, for centuries, noticed this. Francis Bacon, a philosopher, saw how human understanding often sees more order than is truly there. We tend to decide how things should be. Then our minds look for proof we are right, instead of just seeing what is truly there. It's an old, human habit. Imagine you just bought cool new red sneakers. You didn't notice other shoes before. But now, everywhere, you see red sneakers. Is it more people wearing them? No. Your brain is just noticing them more because they matter to you. It prioritizes information tied to your new interest. This quiet filter shows us something important about our thoughts. Our ideas might not always be built on a full picture of reality. Instead, they can come from facts that fit our existing views. Knowing this helps us pause. It reminds us to listen harder, look closer. It teaches us to be open to ideas that don't fit our beliefs. This is a deep part of being human, and a quiet challenge to always seek more truth. The burden of past success. Imagine you've just aced a big test. You feel smart and proud. It feels great, right? You found a way that worked. But here's the thing. Sometimes, our biggest wins can actually make it harder to grow or think differently. In the future, when a way of thinking, an idea, or even a system brings us great success, we tend to cling to it. We trust it deeply. Why change something that clearly works? This trust can become a heavy weight, making us slow to see new possibilities, or better ways of doing things. It's like our minds get comfortable in a successful groove, and find it hard to step out. Think about how people built things a long time ago. They found designs that worked really well for wooden ships or stone buildings. For many years, these designs were incredibly successful, but because they worked so well, it took a long time for engineers to imagine completely different structures, like huge steel skyscrapers or powerful aeroplanes, which needed brand new ways of thinking about materials and forces. The old success, while good for its time, held back the mind from new, bolder ideas. It's a bit like if you studied for a history test by making flashcards and got an A. That's a huge success. So, when your science teacher assigns a big project, you might immediately think, flashcards. But science projects often need different kinds of thinking, like designing experiments, making careful observations, or writing detailed reports. Relying only on the flashcard success for history might keep you from trying new, better ways to tackle science. Even if sticking to flashcards feels comfortable and safe, this shows us that real progress often means being brave enough to gently question even our best ideas. It means understanding that what helped us succeed yesterday might not be what we need for tomorrow. Our minds can get stuck in old winning patterns. Learning to gently let go of what was successful, to make space for what could be, is a really deep kind of wisdom. It helps us stay open to new discoveries, not seeing things from another side. Have you ever wondered why it's so hard sometimes to agree with someone, even a close friend? It's like you're both looking at the same picture, but seeing completely different things. Here's the thing. Often, the crack in our thinking comes from not trying to see the world from another person's spot. We get stuck seeing things only our way. Imagine a time, long ago, when people believed the earth was flat. Looking out, it seemed flat. Their everyday view showed a flat world. They couldn't easily imagine a round one. It took new ways of looking, like sailing far or studying the stars for people to grasp the Earth was a sphere. They had to step outside their usual view. Think about a group project for school. You might have a really strong idea for how to do something. You see it perfectly in your mind, but then a friend has a completely different idea. To you, your idea seems best. To them, their idea seems just as right. It's hard to understand why they don't see what you see. But here's what happens. If you both stick to your own view, you might not find the best path. You need to pause, listen, imagine their perspective. When we step into someone else's shoes, even for a moment, the world opens up. We start to understand why they think or feel a certain way. It doesn't mean you have to agree with them, but it means you see more clearly. It makes life richer and helps us connect with others. It's a quiet strength, this ability to look beyond our own window. The problem with one-way streets in thought. Have you ever noticed how some streets only let cars go in one direction? You can't turn around, you can't go backwards, you just have to keep moving forward. What if our thoughts worked like that? What if we could only ever see an idea from one single side, never truly looking at it from another angle? This is a deep crack in the way we often think, the one-way street of our minds. It means we get stuck. We pick a view, a belief, or an opinion, and then we only allow ourselves to see things that support it. We stop exploring. We close off other paths. This isn't about being wrong. It's about refusing to consider if there might be other rights, too. For a long time, people believed the Earth was flat. This was their one-way street. It made sense to them because that's what their eyes saw. But then, brave thinkers dared to look at the world differently. They wondered. They questioned. People like the ancient Greeks observed shadows and stars. Later, explorers sailed far and didn't fall off the edge. Slowly, this one-way street of thought began to open up. People realized the Earth was a sphere. It was a huge shift, not just in science, but in how humanity understood its place. It happened because someone allowed their mind to turn around, think about it. When you only use a one-way street for your thoughts, you miss so much. You miss the surprising turns, the hidden paths, the whole landscape on the other side. You might miss a deeper truth, a richer understanding, or even a different way to solve a problem. It's like living in a house with only one window, always. Looking at the same small view, opening our minds to other views isn't about giving up our own beliefs. It's about making them stronger, or maybe even finding something truer. It's about knowing that real wisdom comes from exploring all the streets, not just staying on one. It helps us see the full, complex beauty of the world and of each other. How we twist reality to fit our beliefs. Have you ever noticed why two people see the same thing but have totally different ideas about it? It's a strange thought, right? Our brains are amazing, but they aren't simple cameras. Our minds act like editors. They constantly shape what we see and hear. This shaping makes new information match what we already believe. We often walk around with special glasses on. These glasses only let in facts that agree with our thoughts. We need to feel like our ideas are correct. So, when new information comes, our brains try to fit it. If it doesn't fit, we might ignore it, or we might even twist it. This makes it seem to make sense with what we already know. This idea isn't new. Thinkers from long ago noticed this. They knew humans aren't always fair when they look at the world. We often see things not as they truly are, but as we are. Our own experiences and beliefs color everything. Here's an example. Imagine you're a huge fan of one sports team. They're playing a big game. The referee makes a tough call against your team. You might instantly think, that's a terrible call, the ref is biased. But then, the same referee makes a similar call that helps your team. Suddenly, you think, good call, ref. Exactly right. Your loyalty changes how you see the referee's actions. You're twisting the facts to fit your belief that your team is always right. So, what does this tell us? It means that just because something feels true, doesn't mean it's the whole truth. It reminds us to be more curious, and less certain about everything we think we know. It encourages us to pause, to wonder if there's another way to see things, even if it feels uncomfortable. That simple pause can open up a whole new understanding. The myth of multitasking for your brain. Have you ever tried to study for a test while also texting your friends, or maybe watching a show? It really feels like you are doing all of it at once, right? Like your brain is some kind of super juggler, keeping many balls in the air. But here's the thing. Your brain isn't actually doing multiple complex tasks simultaneously, not in the way we often think of it. For a long time, people sort of just assumed we could handle lots of tasks at the same time. We used to admire those who seemed to juggle everything. But as we learned more about how our brains truly work, especially in recent years, a different picture started to appear. What your brain is actually doing when you multitask is switching back and forth between different tasks super quickly. It's like a computer processor rapidly jumping from one program to another, giving each one a tiny bit of attention before moving on. Think of your brain's attention like a single spotlight in a dark room. This spotlight can only light up one small area at a time. It can move incredibly fast from one spot to another, making it seem like it's lighting up everything at once. But it's only ever truly focused on one thing in that exact moment. When you're trying to read a chapter for school and also reply to messages, your brain is constantly flicking that spotlight from the words on the page to the phone screen, and then back again. Each time it switches, there's a tiny cost, a brief moment of distraction, a small energy drain. These tiny pauses and shifts add up, making it harder to truly focus and understand. So, maybe the real strength isn't in trying to do everything at once. Maybe it's in choosing just one thing, truly giving it your full, calm attention, and letting your mind settle there. Deep thought often needs quiet space, not a chaotic race, and that's why it matters to give your mind the peace it needs to truly grasp an idea. Why we underestimate simple problems. Have you ever seen something small, maybe a tiny chip in a window, and just shrugged it off? We often do that. Our minds are built to notice big, loud problems. A huge argument, a broken bone, a big test coming up. These grab our attention. But here's the thing. We often underestimate simple, quiet problems. We see them as too tiny to matter, or so easy to fix that we can deal with them later. That's a crack in how we think. Think about it. Many old thinkers, going way back to ancient Greece, loved to solve huge mysteries about the stars or the meaning of life. They looked for grand answers, but sometimes people missed the tiny things right in front of them that could cause big trouble. For a long time, doctors didn't understand how tiny, invisible germs could make people so sick. They focused on dramatic symptoms, not the simple unseen cause. That's a pattern we still see today. Here's an example that might sound familiar. Imagine you get a tiny hairline crack in your phone screen. It's barely there, right? You can still use the phone. You might think, oh, it's just a scratch. I'll deal with it later. But what happens? That little crack can slowly spread. A tiny bit of pressure, a drop, or even just the heat from your hand can make it spiderweb across the whole screen. What started as nothing becomes a huge problem that costs a lot to fix. It's a small beginning with a big, noisy ending. And that's why it matters. Life isn't always about facing giant monsters. Sometimes, the biggest challenges grow from the smallest, most ignored seeds. Maybe wisdom isn't just about tackling huge problems, but learning to spot the quiet, humble ones before they have a chance to grow. It's about understanding that even the smallest pebble can start an avalanche if it's placed just right and ignored. The brain's need for a story. Have you ever stopped to wonder why we love stories so much? Think about it. From the TV shows we binge watch to the way we tell our friends about our day, everything seems to come in a story shape. And it's not just because they're entertaining. Here's the thing. Our brains are built for stories. Our minds don't just take in random facts. They try to put those facts into an order, a sequence, a narrative. It's how we make sense of the world around us. Long, long ago, before science books or the internet, humans sat around campfires. They looked up at the stars, or heard thunder, or wondered why the sun moved across the sky. They didn't have scientific explanations, so they told stories. Myths and legends helped them understand why things happened and how the world worked. These were the first ways our ancestors made sense of things. This need for a plot, for cause and effect, is still deep inside us. Think about what happened to you today. When you tell a friend about your morning, you don't just list random objects you saw or actions you took. You don't say, I saw my toothbrush, I ate cereal, I put on shoes. Instead, you tell a story. First, I almost missed the bus because my alarm didn't go off. And then I realized I forgot my homework, which made my first class really stressful. You connect events with a flow, a beginning, a middle, and an end. Our Brains naturally turn jumbled information into a journey, a path from one point to another, and because we're so used to this, we often expect the world to make sense in a story-like way. This means that sometimes, the way a truth is told can be just as important as the truth itself. It's a powerful idea to think about, because the stories we hear and the stories we tell ourselves shape so much of what we believe to be real. Thinking we're fair when we're not. Have you ever stopped to think about how fair we really are? Most of us believe we're pretty good at it. We try to give everyone a chance. We want things to be balanced. That's a good goal. But here's the thing, our minds have a hidden struggle. Even when we try our hardest to be fair, our brains often lean one way without us even noticing. It's like a silent whisper, telling us what to think, nudging us away from true fairness. This idea isn't new. For thousands of years, people wondered how we make choices. Old thinkers, long before psychology was a word, saw how easily humans could be swayed by feelings or by who they knew. They noticed our judgment isn't always straight, it bends. We are built to see the world from our own spot. That spot comes with its own view. So, we tend to see ourselves as fair, and our side as the right side. Almost automatically. Think about a time you had to decide who was right in an argument between two friends. You probably listened to both sides. You tried to be neutral. But if one friend was someone you knew really well, or always agreed with you, did you lean their way a little? Even if you didn't mean to. Or maybe you saw someone get into trouble, and instantly thought, they deserved it, without knowing the whole story. Our minds quickly sort things, especially when we feel a connection. We naturally favor what's familiar or what feels safe. So, what does this tell us? It means that believing we're always fair is a crack in our understanding. It's not about being a bad person. It's just how our brains work. True fairness begins when we admit that perfect fairness is harder than it looks. It asks us to pause, question our first thoughts, and gently open our minds to other views. This small act can lead to a deeper, more honest way of seeing the world and each other. The problem with making assumptions: have you ever just known something was true without really checking? Maybe you thought someone was upset because they didn't say hello, or that a test would be super hard. That's an assumption. It's believing something is a fact without proof. Our brains often do this quickly, filling in gaps. But here's the problem: those quick guesses can often be wrong. Thinkers throughout history have warned about this. In ancient Greece, a wise man named Socrates was famous for always asking questions. He knew how easily people assume things. He understood that many beliefs are taken for granted without deep thought. He urged people to examine their ideas. So many of our thoughts, if we trace them back, begin with an unproven idea. For a long time, almost everyone assumed the sun orbited the Earth. It certainly looked that way. The sun appeared to move across the sky every day. This was a common belief, passed down for centuries. But then, scientists like Copernicus and Galileo didn't just assume, they watched, they calculated, they gathered evidence. They found the Earth actually goes around the sun. That huge discovery happened because someone questioned a basic assumption. So, what can we learn? Be gentle with your beliefs. Be careful with what you decide is true. Before you make a judgment, pause. Ask yourself, how do I know this? Is there proof, or am I just guessing? This simple act of pausing helps build stronger thinking. It helps us see things clearly, avoiding misunderstandings. In our own minds and with others, it's how we find real understanding. When logic takes a vacation, have you ever felt like your brain just stopped making sense? One minute you're thinking clearly, and the next, your thoughts are all tangled up. This is like when logic decides to take a vacation. Logic is that clear path your mind follows. It helps us make good decisions, step by step, using facts and good reasons. But sometimes, our brains get distracted or influenced. Think about it. Have you ever made a choice that later seemed strange? Maybe you bought something because it was on sale, even if you didn't need it. Or you believed something untrue because it fit what you wanted to believe. This isn't because you're not smart. It's a moment when something else, like a strong emotion or a quick shortcut, pushes logic aside. People have thought about this for a long time. Ancient Greek thinkers like Aristotle really valued logic. They believed it was the best way to find truth and avoid mistakes. They even made rules for clear thinking. But even they knew it was hard. Our minds have quirks. Sometimes, we want to believe something so badly, or are used to thinking a certain way, that we ignore simple facts. Here's an example. Imagine you're a big fan of a sports team. Your team plays a rival, and the referee makes a call against your team that seems unfair. Even if you saw your player commit a foul, your immediate thought might be, that ref is terrible. They're biased against us. Your loyalty might make your logic take a quick break. You see what you want to see, not always what's true. So, when logic takes a short trip, it's not a failure. It's just part of being human. Our minds are complex. The important thing is to notice these moments. Just pausing and asking, does this really make sense, or am I just feeling a certain way, can help bring logic back home. Understanding our brains do this helps us think more clearly. The power of what everyone else does. Have you ever noticed how easy it is to just go along with what everyone else is doing? Or how, sometimes, you start to believe something because most people around you believe it too. This isn't just about fitting in at school. It's a deep part of how our minds work. It's the quiet, often unseen, power of the group. For a long time, thinkers have wondered why humans tend to follow the herd. Think about ancient times. If everyone in your village believed a certain plant was poisonous, you'd probably avoid it, right? Even without seeing proof yourself. This instinct helps us survive. We learn from what others have already figured out, but it also means our own thoughts can get shaped by the common view, without us realizing it. Here's a simple idea. Imagine you're walking down a busy street. Suddenly, everyone around you stops and looks up at the sky. What do? Most likely, you'll stop too and look up, even if there's nothing obvious. You don't want to miss something important, and you trust that others see something worth looking at. Your own immediate thought isn't why are they looking, but what are they seeing? This happens in bigger ways too. Maybe it's about what music is cool, or what certain news stories mean. If all your friends like a specific band, you might start listening more, and even genuinely enjoy them, simply because you're surrounded by that opinion. Your own taste might shift. So, here's the thing to think about. While learning from others is helpful, it's also important to sometimes pause, ask yourself, is this truly my thought? Am I seeing this with my own eyes, or through the eyes of the crowd? Taking that moment to question can be a powerful step towards thinking for yourself. It helps build a stronger foundation for your own mind. How our language shapes our world. Have you ever stopped to think about the words you use every day? It seems simple, right? We use words to name things, to tell stories, to ask questions. But here's the thing, our language does more than just describe the world around us. It helps build that world inside our minds. Imagine trying to think about something you don't have a word for. It's hard. Our language gives us the tools, the building blocks, for our thoughts. It shapes how we see colors, how we understand time, even how we think about ourselves and others. Long ago, people started wondering about this. Some thinkers believed that the language we speak truly changes the way we think. For example, some ancient languages had only one word for both blue and green. So, did the people speaking those languages see those colors differently? Maybe they didn't separate them in their minds in the same way we do. Here's another idea. Some languages have many words for something like types of snow in Arctic cultures. This isn't just about having more words. It means people in those cultures pay closer attention to different kinds of snow. Their world, in a way, is richer with snow distinctions because their language allows for it. Here's a simpler way to think about it. Imagine you're feeling a mix of worry and excitement before a big school event. If you only had one word for feeling good and one word for feeling bad, it would be hard to really pinpoint what's going on inside you. But because we have words like nervous, eager, anxious, and thrilled, we can name these specific feelings. When we name them, we understand them better. This helps you figure out how to handle what you're feeling. The words give your inner world shape and meaning. So our language isn't just a way to talk, it's a lens we look through. It's a quiet power, always working, always influencing how we build ideas and make sense of our experiences. It's a good thought to carry with you, how the simple words we choose might quietly shape our deepest thoughts. The trap of thinking, if only... Have you ever looked back at something and wished you could just hit rewind? Maybe you thought, if only I had done this differently, or if only that hadn't happened. That feeling, that little whisper of if only, is a powerful trap our minds can fall into. It's when we get stuck on a past moment, imagining how things could have been, instead of dealing with how they are. Think about it. From ancient times, people have wrestled with this. Old thinkers, like the Greek philosophers, understood that you can't change what's already done. They knew focusing on if-onlys keeps your energy tied up in the past. Real strength, they thought, came from accepting what is and moving forward. It's like trying to change the rules of a game after it's already over. You can't imagine. You really wanted to try out for the school play, but you were too nervous to sign up. Later, you see your friends having a great time rehearsing, and you think, if only I had been brave enough to sign up. That if only feeling might make you sad or regretful. It stops you from seeing that there are still other plays, other opportunities. Maybe you learned something important about nerves or future choices. Here's the thing. Those if-only thoughts can feel like a heavy chain, keeping us from moving forward. They teach us nothing new about today. The past is a teacher, yes, but not a prison. When we find ourselves whispering, if only, it's a gentle reminder to breathe, accept what is, and look for the next step, right here, in the present moment. That's where real life happens, and where you can actually make a difference. Why we find excuses so easily. Have you ever wondered why it's so easy to find a reason not to do something hard, like a tough homework assignment, or a chore you don't want to do? It feels like your brain just instantly pops up with a perfect excuse. Here's the thing. Our brains like to save energy. They always look for the easiest, most comfortable path. Doing something difficult, new, or uncomfortable takes a lot of mental effort. So, finding an excuse is like a mental shortcut. It lets us avoid immediate effort and uncomfortable feelings. Humans have noticed this tendency for thousands of years. Even ancient thinkers understood that avoiding discomfort is just part of being human. It's wired into us, like how your hand pulls away from something hot without thinking. Imagine you're about to clean your messy room. Before you even start, your mind might suggest, oh, I need to check this online first, or I'm too tired right now. These aren't always lies. They're your brain's quick ideas to avoid the immediate struggle. Your brain sees the task as a big hill, trying to find a smooth path around it. So, here's what happened. We're not always lazy when we find excuses. Often, it's our mind trying to keep us comfortable. Knowing this isn't about blaming ourselves. It's about understanding how we think. Understanding gives us a quiet power. The next time an excuse pops up, we can notice it gently. Then, maybe we can choose a different path, knowing why the easy one first called to us. The danger of being too comfortable. Have you ever thought about how good it feels to be super comfortable? Like snuggling under a warm blanket on a rainy day, or always doing the things you know you're good at. It feels safe, right? But what if that very feeling of comfort could actually be a quiet danger to our minds? Here's the thing. Our brains, just like our bodies, need challenges to grow strong. When we stay too cozy, when we always choose the easy path, we stop asking tough questions. We might miss problems or new ideas simply because we're not looking beyond what's familiar. It's like our thoughts fall asleep in a soft chair. Think about how humans have learned and grown over thousands of years. Many wise thinkers, from ancient Greek philosophers to modern scientists, often talked about the value of struggle. They didn't see easy answers as the best answers. Instead, they believed that real understanding came from questioning everything, from pushing against what everyone else just accepted as true. They knew that staying comfortable meant staying still, and staying still meant not truly learning or developing. Imagine a young tree. If it grows in a perfectly windless, sunny spot with constant water, it might look fine. But what happens when a real storm comes? A tree that has faced some wind, that has had to push its roots deeper for water, that's the tree that will stand strong. Our minds are a bit like that tree. If we only feed them easy information and never let them wrestle with difficult ideas, they won't develop the strength needed to truly think for themselves. They won't grow deep roots of understanding. So, the danger isn't comfort itself, but being too comfortable. It's letting ease stop us from exploring, from wondering, from seeing the cracks that might lead to new paths. Sometimes, the most important steps we take for our minds are the ones that feel a little bit uncomfortable, because those are the steps that help us truly grow and see the world in new ways. Our brains need to finish the puzzle. Have you ever started a really good story, only for the internet to cut out right before the ending? Or seen a drawing where a few lines are missing, but your mind just knows what it's supposed to be? It feels unfinished, right? And maybe a little annoying. Here's the thing. Our brains absolutely hate things that are incomplete. We have this deep, powerful need to finish the puzzle, to connect all the dots, even when some pieces are missing. This isn't just about being neat or tidy. It's how our brains work constantly to understand the world around us. From the earliest times, humans have been trying to make sense of everything. If ancient people saw a partial track in the mud, their brains didn't just see a random shape. They tried hard to figure out what animal made it, where it was going, and what that meant for their safety or their next meal. Long ago, certain thinkers and early psychologists observed that our minds naturally group things together, seeking patterns and wholeness. It's like our inner detective is always on the job, trying to piece together clues, whether they are all there or not. This urge to complete a picture is fundamental to how we think. Think about a time when you had a song stuck in your head, but only the chorus. Your brain might keep playing that part over and over, almost begging for the rest of the lyrics to come back. Or imagine you're working on a big school project, and you leave it halfway done to go to bed. It's hard to truly relax, isn't it? That unfinished task keeps poking at you, sitting in the back of your mind, nagging you until it's finally done. Psychologists even have a name for this. Our memory for unfinished tasks is often stronger than for finished ones. It's our brain's clever way of saying, hey, don't forget this. It needs to be closed. So, this powerful drive to finish things tells us something important about ourselves. It reveals our constant, deep human need for understanding. We want our world to make sense, to have a clear beginning, a middle, and an end. When things are uncertain or unclear, our brains often step in to fill the gaps, sometimes with ideas that might not be entirely true, just to create a complete picture. This quiet, restless urge shapes how we see everything around us, pushing us always to seek meaning, even in the silence and the blanks that appear. The problem with overgeneralizing: you ever had one bad morning and thought, this whole day is terrible? Or met one person from a group and decided, everyone in that group must be just like them? That snap judgment is how we overgeneralize. Here's how it works. You take a small experience and stretch it to cover everything, like seeing one tiny flaw in a painting and deciding the whole artwork is worthless. Our brains seek patterns. Long ago, this helped us survive. If one berry made you sick, you avoided all similar ones. It was a quick way to stay safe. But today, this shortcut often leads us astray. Even early thinkers, like ancient Greek philosophers, sometimes made big statements about all people or nature. They based these ideas on very few observations. They tried to make sense of the world, but their broad rules often missed important differences. A simple example: you try sushi and don't like it. If you then say, I hate all Japanese food, you're overgeneralizing. Sushi is just one small part of a huge food culture. By making that leap, you might miss out on delicious ramen or tempura. You've let one taste define a whole world of flavor. This also happens with people. If one person from a certain place is unfriendly, it's unfair to assume everyone from that place is unfriendly. When we overgeneralize, we build invisible walls. We stop exploring. We close our minds to new experiences. It makes the world seem smaller than it really is, and it often leads to unfair judgments about things or people. Maybe the wisest thing is to look a little closer, to understand that one piece doesn't always tell the whole story. Every person, every moment, every new idea deserves its own fair look. When our past experiences cloud the present, have you ever felt like you're walking into a brand new day, but parts of your mind are still living in yesterday? This happens when our past experiences, big or small, sneak into the present moment and color how we see things. Our brains are amazing at learning. They build a mental map of the world based on everything that's happened to us. But sometimes, this map can make it hard to see what's truly in front of us right now. People have always noticed this. Ancient Greek thinkers talked about how we don't always see things as they truly are. They suggested we often see the world through a filter. This filter is made up of all our memories, feelings, and everything we've learned. It helps us make sense of things quickly, but it can also trick us into making old judgments about new situations. Imagine you tried a new food once, say a certain kind of berry, and it tasted really sour. Your brain marked that berry as not good. Now, years later, someone offers you a different type of berry, one that looks a little similar but is actually sweet and delicious. Your mind might instantly bring up that old, sour memory. You might hesitate or even decide not to try it, all because of that one past experience. It's not about the new berry at all. It's about the memory that clouded your chance to taste something new. Our past can dim the light of the present. It stops us from fully seeing what's right in front of us. It makes us judge new people or situations based on old hurts or old joys that don't actually belong. Recognizing this is a powerful thing. It lets us pause and ask ourselves, am I really seeing this moment clearly, or am I just looking through yesterday's window? It helps us open our eyes a little wider to the fresh possibilities each new moment holds. The illusion of choice. Have you ever picked something, like a snack or a movie, and felt like it was totally your decision? But then, you wondered if it truly was. Maybe the options were limited, or someone just suggested it strongly. This feeling leads us to a big idea, the illusion of choice. Here's the thing, we often believe we have complete freedom. We think our decisions are entirely ours. But what if many of our choices are actually shaped by things we barely notice? Things like our past experiences, our feelings, or how information is presented. Think about going into a store for new shoes. Many kinds, right? But the store decided which brands to sell, which styles to display, and how to light them. You pick a pair, feeling good. But did the store guide you to what they wanted to sell? This idea has puzzled thinkers for ages. Philosophers, even in ancient Greece, debated free will. Is everything already decided, like a script? Or are we truly free to write our own story? It's like when you're online, and a website recommends a video based on your past views. It feels easy, but are you truly choosing, or is the algorithm narrowing your world? You click, thinking you made a free choice, but the path was already there. So, while we might not always have endless options, understanding these invisible nudges changes things. It makes us think more deeply about why we do what we do. It's not about feeling helpless, but gaining a clearer view of the quiet forces that shape our path. That awareness is a kind of freedom. Thinking we're safe from brain tricks. Do you ever feel like your brain is always on your side, always telling you the truth, showing you everything clearly? It's a comforting thought, isn't it? That our own minds are perfect tools, always ready to guide us, right? But here's the thing. Our brains, for all their wonder, come with some built-in quirks. They have secret shortcuts, quick ways of processing information that can sometimes lead us astray, even when we feel absolutely certain. This isn't a new idea. For thousands of years, thinkers have noticed how easily our perceptions can trick us. Ancient Greek philosophers, like Plato, explored this. He used the idea of people trapped in a cave, seeing only shadows on a wall, believing those shadows were reality. They couldn't see the true objects causing the shadows. Later, thinkers like René Descartes wondered if our entire reality might just be a powerful dream or a clever trick played on our senses. They understood that what we experience isn't always the full picture, or even the right picture. Think about something simple, optical illusions. You see lines that look different lengths, but when you measure them, they're exactly the same. Your eyes and brain are playing a trick. Or, consider this. Maybe you strongly believe something about a topic, like your favorite sports team. You might only pay attention to news articles or friends who agree with you, and ignore anything that says otherwise. This is your brain trying to confirm what you already believe. It's called confirmation bias. We tend to look for evidence that proves us right, not necessarily what is true. It's easy to walk through life feeling completely safe from these mental traps, confident our thoughts are always solid ground. But true wisdom often begins when we realize our minds are more like complex, living landscapes than perfectly engineered machines. They have hidden valleys and surprising bends. Understanding that our brains can sometimes trick us isn't about losing trust in ourselves. Instead, it's about gaining a deeper, more humble view of how we actually think. It makes us more open to new ideas, more careful listeners, and more willing to question even our strongest beliefs. It's a quiet reminder that the journey of understanding never truly ends. The power of the smallest detail. Have you ever thought about how something super small can make a huge difference? We often think big problems must come from big causes. But what if the cracks in our thinking, or even in our world, start with something tiny, something we barely notice? For ages, people believed big things came from big reasons, like a huge tree comes from a tiny seed, right? But that seed is meant to grow. Here's the thing, sometimes it's a small detail, one you never expected, that changes everything. Think about how old thinkers looked to big patterns in the stars to understand life. They often missed small, everyday things right in front of them. Those small things might have led to even deeper ideas about how our world really works. Imagine you're building something, like a computer program, or even just baking your favorite cookies. If you miss one tiny comma in a computer code, or add a pinch of salt instead of sugar, the whole thing can go wrong. It might not crash or taste terrible right away, but that small mistake messes up the whole system. And that's why it matters. This idea helps us see the world in a new way. It makes us stop and look really closely. Maybe fixing a big problem isn't about some huge answer, but finding that one tiny, missed error. Or maybe a great idea isn't just about the main points. It's also about all the small, connected thoughts that hold it up. It reminds us that every tiny piece matters. And maybe true wisdom comes from noticing what others just walk past. Why we ignore good advice. Have you ever heard truly good advice? Wise words that just click. Maybe about studying, kindness, or your health. Did you follow it? Often we don't. Strange, right? We know what's good, but just don't do it. Why? Here's the thing, our minds are complex. What feels good now often beats what's good later. Immediate wants shout louder than long-term needs. We see the benefits, but the path feels hard, uncomfortable, or less fun than doing nothing. Ancient thinkers wondered about this. The Greeks called it akrasia, weakness of will. They saw it as a deep part of being human. It's an old problem, as old as thinking itself. People have always struggled to do what's right, when the easy way is right there. It's the pull of instant comfort versus a future reward. Imagine knowing 30 minutes of daily exercise makes you stronger, healthier, boosts mood. You feel it when you do it. But when it's time to move, the couch looks comfy. Your phone has cool videos. Those 30 minutes feel like a mountain. Your brain picks immediate comfort, even knowing the other choice is better long-term. It's not about being lazy. It's understanding how our minds balance now versus later. This isn't about blaming yourself. It's about seeing a common human pattern. With that understanding, maybe we can pause, notice, and sometimes make a different choice. It's a quiet journey of learning our own patterns. The trap of it's just a feeling. Have you ever had a strong feeling about something? Maybe your stomach dropped, or you felt a sudden chill, and you just knew it was true. We trust our gut, our intuition, those deep feelings that seem wise. But here's the thing. Sometimes, those powerful feelings can lead us into a trap. Our brains are amazing. They're built for quick decisions, to keep us safe. So, when danger is near, or something good happens, we get a rush of feeling. This is our ancient brain, reacting fast. Long ago, thinkers noticed this. Ancient thinkers, like those in Greece, knew our emotions and our reason were different. They believed feelings, while real, often clouded judgment. They urged people to use logic, to think things through, not just act on impulse. It was about separating raw emotion from clear truth. Think about walking through a dark park at night. Suddenly, you get a chilling feeling someone is behind you. Your body tenses, your heart pounds. The feeling is absolutely real. Fear. It's intense. But is it true someone is actually there? Maybe it's just the wind rustling leaves, or your imagination playing tricks. The feeling is a signal, but not always the truth. It's like a smoke detector screaming fire. When it's just burnt toast, you have to check. Our feelings are important. We can learn to gently question them. We acknowledge the feeling, be it fear, excitement, or sadness. But then we ask, is this feeling based on facts? Or is it just a story my mind is telling me? Taking that pause, that tiny space between feeling and reaction, helps us build stronger thoughts. It helps us see the world and ourselves clearly, moving from just reacting to truly understanding. How our groups change our minds. Have you ever wondered why everyone in your friend group suddenly likes the same music, or dresses a certain way? It's like a quiet shift happens. Before you know it, your own tastes might lean that way too. This isn't just a coincidence. The groups we spend time with have a surprising power to change how we think. Here's the thing. Humans are social creatures. For thousands of years, we lived in communities. Being part of a group helped us survive. Our brains are wired to pay attention to what others in our group believe. If everyone around you thinks something is true, it becomes much harder for you to think differently. Our minds naturally bend towards the opinions that surround us. Even ancient Greek thinkers like Plato noticed this. They saw how the beliefs of a city could shape its people's thoughts. What a group accepted as true could become the truth for individuals, even if not based on facts. It's a subtle pressure, not spoken aloud, but always there. Think about fashion. Trends one year, everyone might wear baggy jeans. The next, skinny jeans are everywhere. You might not love the new style at first, but when all your friends start wearing them, they don't look so strange anymore. You might buy a pair, simply because it feels normal. It feels like belonging. Your preference gets pulled by the group's choice, so it's good to pause and ask, am I thinking this because I truly believe it? Or is it because this idea fits with the people I'm with? Understanding how much our groups shape us can help us hold on to our own thoughts more firmly. It helps us see the world with clearer eyes. It reminds us that our own mind is powerful, worth protecting. The problem with not changing your mind, have you ever held on to an idea, even with new facts showing you something different? It's a very human habit. We often like what we already know. Letting go of an old thought can feel strange, even scary. But here's the problem. Refusing to change our minds locks us in. We miss new truths. Our understanding stops growing. Think back in time. For thousands of years, people truly believed Earth was the universe's center. The sun, the stars, they thought it all spun around us. This idea was deeply set in their world. Then, thinkers like Copernicus and Galileo presented proof. Earth actually goes around the sun. Many found this hard to accept. It wasn't the evidence itself. It was how deeply rooted their old way of thinking was. It felt too comfortable to shift. Here's a way to picture this. Imagine learning a new video game. You try one strategy, but if it keeps failing and a friend suggests a better way, what then? If you stubbornly stick to your old method, you'll never win. But if you try the new path, even if it feels different, you start to improve. Your mind adapts, so it's not about being wrong, it's about being open. Our minds aren't meant to be fixed, like a statue carved in stone. They are more like a flowing river, always moving, always taking in new currents. Being willing to change your mind means you're always learning. It means you grow wiser, more understanding, and better able to navigate our world as it changes. When facts don't feel like facts, have you ever heard something everyone calls a fact, but deep down, it just doesn't sit right? Or maybe you've had a strong feeling, and even when new information came, your gut still stuck with what you already believed. It's strange when facts, solid and proven, don't quite feel like facts to us. For a long time, people believed the sun went around the earth. It just made sense, right? You could see the sun moving across the sky every day. It felt like the center of everything. But then, scientists like Copernicus and Galileo showed, with math and careful observation, that the earth actually goes around the sun. This was a huge fact, but for many, it felt completely wrong. It challenged everything they thought they knew. It was hard to accept, even with proof. Here's a common example from our own minds. Imagine your favorite sports team has a losing streak. Someone might say, they're just not trying hard enough. And you might agree, because it feels true. But then a coach explains, our star player is injured, and we're working on new strategies. The injury is a fact, a real reason for the losses. Sometimes, our first idea, our feeling, is so strong that the actual facts don't quite land. Our brains sometimes like to hold on to what we already think, even when new information tries to change our minds. This isn't because we're wrong, it's just how our minds are wired. We often look for things that confirm what we already believe. So, here's the thing. True facts don't care about our feelings, they just are. But truly accepting them, that's where the journey happens. It means being open, ready to look at things again, even when it's uncomfortable. It reminds us that what feels true isn't always what is true, and that's okay. It's part of learning and growing, stretching our minds to see things a little clearer. The brain's fear of the unknown. Have you ever felt a knot in your stomach when facing something totally new? Maybe it's a new school, a different sport, or even just trying a food you've never seen before. Here's the thing, that feeling, that little whisper of fear, is deeply wired into our brains. Our brains are amazing, but they also like predictability. They like patterns. They like knowing what's coming next, because that feels safe. When something is unknown, our brain sees it as a potential danger. It's like an ancient alarm system, left over from a time when not knowing if a rustle in the bushes was a gentle breeze or a hungry animal truly meant life or death. So, For early humans, a healthy fear of the unknown kept them alive. They learned to be wary of things they hadn't seen before. Don't think about it like this. Imagine you're walking through a dark room you've never been in. You move slowly, your senses alert, because you don't know what's ahead. Your brain is saying, be careful, we don't have a map here. That caution isn't a flaw, it's a survival tool. This isn't about being scared all the time, but about how our minds naturally react to things we haven't categorized yet. Even great thinkers throughout history have struggled with the unknown. Philosophers often talked about the mysteries of the universe, the things beyond our understanding. They knew that facing the unknown was both terrifying and exciting, because it pushed humanity to ask bigger questions. So, while that anxious feeling when stepping into the new might seem like a weakness, it's actually a whisper from our oldest instincts. It's a reminder that our brains are always working to keep us safe. But here's what's cool. Understanding this fear can help us gentle it. It reminds us that sometimes the greatest discoveries, the deepest understandings, and the most exciting parts of life are found just beyond the edge of what we already know. The unknown isn't always a monster. Sometimes it's a path waiting to be explored. Why we love being right, even if we're not. Have you ever noticed that amazing feeling when you know the answer to something, or you win an argument? It's like a little spark of joy in your brain. Now, think about the opposite. How does it feel to be wrong? Often, it's uncomfortable, even a little embarrassing. Why do our minds react this way? Here's the thing. Our brains are designed to prefer certainty. Think about ancient humans. Knowing which berries were safe, or which paths were dangerous, was vital for survival. Those who learned quickly and remembered what was right survived. Better, our brains developed a built-in reward system for this. When we prove ourselves correct, or confirm a belief, our brain gives us a boost. It feels good because, deep down, certainty felt like safety. It's not just ancient history. Philosophers for thousands of years chased truth, believing it was key to understanding the world. There's a deep comfort in feeling like you've got things figured out. When you solve a tough puzzle, or your team wins because of your strategy, your brain releases dopamine. This chemical creates a pleasant feeling, encouraging you to seek more right answers. It's a powerful natural reward. So, holding on to an idea, even if flawed, is tempting. Our brains love that feeling of being correct. It's hard to let go of certainty. But here's what I've learned. Real growth happens when we are brave enough to admit we might be wrong. It opens our minds to new ideas, letting our thinking expand. That willingness to question is where true understanding begins, even if it feels a little unsure at first. The trap of focusing on what's wrong. Have you ever noticed how easy it is to spot problems, to find the one thing that's not quite right, even when everything else is going well? Here's the thing. Our brains are kind of wired for it. It's like a survival instinct from long ago, always looking for danger. But in our modern world, this old wiring can become a trap. We can get stuck seeing only the flaws, the mistakes, the broken parts. This isn't about ignoring real issues, but about how our attention shapes our reality. When we only look for what's wrong, that's often all we see. Think about ancient thinkers, people like the Stoics. They lived thousands of years ago, but they thought a lot about how we control our minds. They understood that you can't always control what happens to you. But here's what you can control: your reaction to it. They believed that dwelling on what's broken or missing keeps us from finding peace or progress. It's like staring at a single crack in a beautiful wall instead of appreciating the whole building. Imagine you've worked really hard on a big project for school. You spend hours on it, put in a lot of effort, and most of it is fantastic. But then you get it back, and your teacher points out one small typo, or one tiny section that could be better. What do? Do you celebrate all the amazing parts you created, or do you fixate on that one small flaw, feeling like the whole thing is ruined? It's so easy to let that one tiny imperfection overshadow all your hard work. This can help you see how focusing on the negative can truly block out the good. This isn't to say we should ignore problems. We need to face them. But how we approach them matters. What if, instead of just seeing what's wrong, we also trained ourselves to notice what's right, to see the efforts, the progress, the strength that still exists? This might work for you. Sometimes, just shifting your gaze, even a little bit, can open up a whole new way of understanding the world around you. It allows space for solutions, for growth, for appreciation of what already is, and that's why it matters. How we miss the obvious sometimes. Have you ever looked everywhere for something, only to find it was right in your hand the whole time? Your glasses on your head, your phone in your pocket. It happens more often than we think. Sometimes, important truths, big ideas, are hidden in plain sight. We just don't see them. Here's the thing. Our brains are amazing, but they also have a tricky way of deciding what to focus on. They filter out tons of information every second. This helps us not get overwhelmed. But sometimes, what gets filtered out is exactly what we need to notice. We're looking for something specific, and that focus can make us blind to everything else around, even if it's super clear. Think about old stories. For ages, people thought the earth was flat. The sun clearly rose and set around us. It felt obvious, but thinkers like Pythagoras and later Copernicus showed us that was wrong. Evidence was always there in the stars, in how ships disappeared over the horizon. People were so used to one way of seeing, they missed the bigger, rounder picture. Their everyday experience seemed direct, but it was a kind of trap. Here's a simpler example. Imagine you're trying to spot a specific type of bird in a tree. You're looking for its color, its size. You might completely miss a large animal like a squirrel, even if it's on the branch right next to the bird. Your brain is tuned to one thing, so it filters out the other. So, what does this tell us? It suggests truth isn't always shouting. Sometimes it whispers, hiding in details we ignore. And sometimes, how we expect to see something stops us from truly seeing it. It teaches us to be humble about what we think we know. It asks us to slow down, to look again, and to question what feels completely obvious. Maybe then, we can see the cracks, and the wonders that were always there. The problem with quick conclusions. Have you ever looked at something for just a second and felt like you knew exactly what was going on? Maybe you saw two friends whispering and immediately thought they were talking about you. Or you heard a crash outside and pictured the worst possible accident. This quick jump to an idea, often before we have all the facts, is what we call a quick conclusion. Here's the thing. Our brains are incredibly fast. They want to make sense of the world as quickly as possible. This was really useful when humans were living in the wild and needed to instantly decide if a shadow was a dangerous animal or just a bush. But in our modern world, this speed can sometimes lead us astray. Think about the ancient Greek philosophers, like Socrates. He wasn't famous for having all the answers. Instead, he was known for asking a lot of questions. He understood that true wisdom often came from not assuming you knew everything, but from carefully exploring an idea from all sides. He taught that real understanding takes time, and that easy answers are often too simple to be true. He showed that if you rush, you miss the deeper truth. Imagine you're trying to figure out a puzzle. If you just glance at a few pieces and decide what the whole picture is, you'll probably be wrong. It's only when you take your time, turn the pieces over, and see how they connect, that the true image starts to appear. Our thoughts are a lot like that puzzle. When we make a quick conclusion, it's like only looking at one corner of the box. So, what happens when we jump too fast? We might misunderstand a situation, misjudge a person, or believe something that isn't true. It can close our minds off to new information and prevent us from learning. It takes strength to pause, to breathe, and to truly look. It takes wisdom to say, I don't have all the information yet, so I will wait and learn more. This pause, this willingness to sit with uncertainty, is a powerful act of good thinking. Thinking we're always objective. Have you ever stopped to think if you truly see things exactly as they are? We often feel like our brains are like clear camera lenses, just recording the world without changing it. Here's the thing. It's not quite that simple. Our thoughts, feelings, and past experiences shape everything we see, hear, and understand. We think we're being objective, meaning we're looking at something without any personal feelings or opinions. But it's much harder than it seems. For a long, long time, great thinkers believed that people could reach pure, unbiased logic. They imagined our minds could be like perfect, empty rooms, ready to take in truth without distortion. But as we learned more about the human brain, we started to see a different picture. Scientists and psychologists began to show that our minds are always active, always interpreting, always filling in gaps based on what we already know or believe. Think about two friends watching the same soccer match. One friend is a huge fan of the Sharks, and the other roots for the Ravens. When a referee makes a call against the Sharks fan might instantly think, that's unfair, the ref is biased. But the Ravens fan might see the exact same. play and say, "Yep, totally deserved that foul." They both saw the same event, but their minds filtered it differently because of who they wanted to win. Their emotions and loyalties changed how they saw the facts. So here's what I found. Being truly objective is almost impossible for humans. Our own personal history, our hopes, and even our fears act like a filter. They add a bit of color or shadow to everything. This can help you understand why people disagree so much, even about simple things. And that's why it matters. Accepting that we all see the world through our own unique lens can make us more understanding. It helps us listen better, knowing that someone else's truth might simply be their own honest view, shaped by their own journey. The power of the way something is presented. Have you ever thought about how the same simple idea can feel totally different, depending on how it's shared? Here's the thing. It's not just what we say or what we show. It's the way that words are arranged, the tone of voice, the picture chosen, or even just the quiet pause before a sentence. This is the quiet, powerful force of presentation. It shapes how we feel, what we believe, and what we remember. For centuries, people have known this. Ancient Greek thinkers, like Aristotle, even had a word for it: rhetoric. They studied how speakers could use certain words and ways of speaking to make people truly understand, or even feel persuaded, by an idea. They knew that a truth, spoken plainly, might just be heard, but a truth, spoken with care, with the right rhythm and feeling, could move mountains. Think about famous speeches from history. Often their power wasn't just in the facts, but in how the speaker made those facts live and breathe. Imagine you're hungry, and someone puts a plain, square cheese sandwich on a white plate in front of you. You might eat it, but what if that same sandwich is cut into neat triangles, with a small curl of lettuce beside it, and served on a nicer plate? Suddenly, it looks more appealing. It might even taste better, because your mind has already decided it's something special. It's the same sandwich, the same ingredients, but the way it was presented changed how you felt about it. This shows us something important. Every piece of information we get, every story we hear, every image we see, comes with a kind of wrapping. Sometimes, the wrapping is simple and honest. Other times, it's designed to make us feel a certain way, perhaps even to hide what's truly inside. So, when you're thinking about ideas, try to see past the presentation. Look for the core of the thing, and when you share your own thoughts, remember the power you hold to present them with care and truth. When our brains play tricks on us, seriously, have you ever been totally sure of something, then found you were wrong? Like waving to a stranger you thought was a friend. That strange feeling, like your mind played a trick, is real. Our brains aren't perfect. They worked hard to make sense of the world, often taking shortcuts. These lead to cognitive biases. Imagine your brain has a filter. Sometimes, that filter isn't clear, or it adds its own colors. This makes things seem different than they truly are. People have wondered about this for ages. Ancient Greek thinkers, like Plato, questioned how our senses fool us. His allegory of the cave suggested what we see might be a distorted truth, shaped by our limited view. Later thinkers realized our minds aren't empty. They actively shape what we experience. Our past and feelings often color what we see. So, seeing something isn't always 100% accurate. Here's a relatable example: the spotlight effect. Ever walk into a room feeling like everyone noticed your new haircut or a tiny stain? You might feel like you're under a bright spotlight. But here's the thing: most people probably didn't even see it. Your brain thinks they did because you are so aware of yourself. This bias means we overestimate how much others pay attention. Our brain puts us at the center, a natural, though sometimes inaccurate, way it tracks us. So, what does this mean? What we perceive isn't always the whole story. Our brains are amazing, but they have quirks. Knowing this helps us be more open-minded and humble about what we know. It encourages us to look closer, question our first thoughts, and listen to others. It's not about mistrusting our minds. It's about understanding their incredible, sometimes flawed, way of making sense of everything. True understanding often starts with admitting we might not see things perfectly clearly. And that's okay. The start of smarter thinking. Have you ever stopped to wonder why you believe something? Not just what you believe, but why it feels true to you. This quiet pause is where smarter thinking truly begins. It's not about knowing all the answers. It's about being brave enough to ask simple questions. For a long time, people just accepted things, The sun moved around the earth. The world was flat. These ideas seemed obvious because that's what everyone saw and felt. But then, some people started to wonder, to look closer, to ask, is that really true? Think about ancient Greek thinkers. Like Socrates, he was famous for asking questions, not giving answers. He'd talk to people and help them see if their beliefs actually made sense. He showed that what we think we know might need a second look. Here's the thing, smarter thinking means not just taking things at face value. Imagine you see a magician pull a rabbit out of a hat. You know it's a trick, right? But how you start to think about what could be happening behind the scenes. You don't just accept the magic, you look for the hidden method. That's a bit like smarter thinking. You're searching for the how and why behind things you once just accepted. And that's why it matters. This simple act of questioning what seems obvious helps us build stronger ideas, stronger understandings. It helps us see the world, and even ourselves, with fresh eyes. It's a quiet journey, but it opens up a whole universe inside your mind. It's about becoming more curious, more aware, and in a deep way, more truly yourself.